Your third wedding. You look so young.
Give my regards to that suicidally romantic scoundrel.
Well, let's hope he's just romantic.
You being so reclusive and everything is probably only going to make people more interested in your music.
Yeah. What a drag.
My sister's looking for us.
Shouldn't she be sleeping in a coffin somewhere?
I'm really, really hungry.
Could you smell it all the way from LA?
We're gonna have so much fun together.
We gotta go. Right now.
Come in.
Is that the really good stuff?
Precisely.
Hypo. Negativo.
I protect his secret in your soul.
How can you have lived for so long and still not get it? Really low, if I may say so.
I have you need.
Not what I need.
Damn right you don't.
Okay, welcome to Movie Night Extravaganza. It is episode 62. Only Lovers Left Alive, the Jim Jarmusch movie. I think that was a really fucking good trailer. I think.
Yeah.
It kind of got you really got you right into it. I think.
I was gonna say that it's Mad Men, which is an Australian company, so they're pretty good. Like, I used to work when I was in publishing. I used to work in the same room as the movie guys, so at Mad Men, it was such a great company.
Were they distributors that were like independent distributors, or were they like that company?
They're like the art house distributors, basically, in Australia. Yeah.
So they do like Yahoo Serious.
And they do like anime and other stuff. Yeah. But yeah, they do all the like art housey films and films that go to festivals and stuff.
I feel like A24 has taken over that role in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
stuff like that, because everybody like treats them like they're a production company. They're really not. They're literally just a distribution company.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, that A24 vibe, and it's like, yeah, that's incidental.
Yeah.
That's incidental.
You mean independent film? Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, that there is kind of a vibe for that across their movies, but I just think it's a trend that
it's a vibe across movie making. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. We're still in introductions. Let's get into it.
They do the bisexual lighting. That's where it all comes from. The A24 factory.
Yeah, it's all.
That's what
I'm joined by Jay
canonically established.
I'm joined by Jay Underworld, Vampire Slayer. This movie didn't have a Vampire Slayer, by the way, which is a little bit disappointing. You'd think that there would be somebody that was like at least knew that they were vampire.
An inept Vampire Slayer, Jim Jarmusch style. Like he always has that kind of like inept character that somehow has a position of power. And not in this movie.
Well, I guess the Vampire Slayer is really just the humans, isn't it?
The zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're kind of killing we're the real. Who are the real vampires, man? Joined also by Protonic Reversal and Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Conan Neutron out with a new clip today from This Is Revolution, where he really went off for 2 minutes about Spotify.
It was less than 2 minutes, and it was more than just Spotify, to be explicitly clear on both counts. But I appreciate the intent nonetheless. Also out with a new record. It's only been a week and a half, and technically speaking, we don't even have them in hand yet. So
far more important too.
Right, go listen to that on Bandcamp, because it is not on the other services right now, and it won't be for quite some time, and that is deliberate. But yes, happy to I was frantically trying to make myself into a Conan non-reclusive musician Neutron, but that's too many characters, which says a lot about me, I suppose.
And
Happy to talk about this great movie.
Yeah. We're also joined by Renee Rune, movie reviews at the Night Shift, Smells Like Girl podcast, and Rune Agency. Resident, tomorrow, liver, because it's tomorrow in Australia right now and Saturday.
Some people just live for today. Renee lives for tomorrow because she's literally already there. Give us the full report.
Yes,
I really like that one line that's like in this movie, that one line where she's like, "Oh, I might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night." I feel like
that's great. Yeah.
That's a Jim Hightower line. Like I just love the fact that like
this last night made my housemate watch it as well again because he had never seen it. It's the only Jarmusch one he's never seen. So I was like, "Cool, let's do it," and rewatched it again. And yeah, I did say had a little lull at some of the jokes. I was looking out for just some of the ones that Forrest had mentioned yesterday that I already knew, but like had actually forgotten about until I, rewatched it and then was like, yes, that's right. So, yeah, it was really good.
This movie is really interesting, I think, because I mean the vampires feel more like fleshed out, I think, really than any other. I mean, because we kind of have like this canon, and we'll get into this at some point because I have a clip of Jarmusch talking about like the chronology of different vampire movies, right? Because vampires kind of as a concept have been around since like the beginning of time. Just the idea that something could be like hiding in the shadows, willing to drain your blood. And I mean, vampire bats exist, like leeches they used to put on your skin to like suck the blood. So it's kind of been a thought I think people have had for a very long time. I mean, Vlad the Impaler, the famous, he's canceled, of course, Vlad the Impaler.
And of course, there's that Smashing Pumpkins song where he goes, Andy World is a vampire.
I was gonna do a whole Vlad the Impaler bit, Andy. You just deflated it.
I want to hear your Vlad the Impaler bit.
No, I'm over it now. That's fine.
It's too late. I ruined it.
It was the cancellation. There was going to be a thing on impaling and whatever. It's over. Moment passed. But yeah. I think that's that's all notable, right? Like this is a subversion of the norms of vampire movies that very intentional and like in a way that. What if vampires were a vibe? Right? It is maybe a good way to put it.
What if vampires were kind of like bored existentialists, pretty much? I mean, that's kind of the. Because what are you gonna do for eternity? Like you're here for eternity, at least until you get blood poisoning, which is kind of a hilarious fucking thing that they include in this movie. That like like the blood is contaminated. Like we're just like it's like we think about our like how we ingest chemicals constantly. We think about how we ingest. I mean, a lot of people ingest drugs. Like we're in the middle of like the opioid epidemic, like all these different things. And it's like, of course, vampires will be affected by that too.
Yeah, like all these preservatives and chemicals and whatever that.
And then like AIDS and other bloodborne illnesses that kind of cropping up more recently than in the past.
Yeah. It's also really funny that that you mentioned it is like the Australian distributor because they mentioned like the water wars a lot in this movie, and that's something that comes up a lot in like Mad Max, at least the Fury Road, like it does. Like
yeah.
Well, it's gonna come up a lot more elsewhere pretty soon. That's where we're going. Hey everybody, that's all the time we got. See you later.
We gotta go fight for that water.
Don't forget, don't look up.
Anyway, not to be a bring down, my bad.
No, but so I don't know. I find it interesting. I think that Jim Jarmusch is someone who's very attuned to that kind of thing, right? Like he's I mean, a lot of his work has been like environmentally centered and like kind of reaching back to like these past ideas and like I don't know. I think that he's a director that's very attuned to that. So the fact that his vampires would be like, oh no, like the climate's eroding and people are like like. There's something that's happening to you when you have to like drink blood of somebody that because we're all kind of pumped with antibiotics, we're all pumped with like chemicals, we're all pumped with all kinds of things that like if that did affect your vampires. I mean, his vampires are kind of sensitive vampires, really, like indie movie sensitive vampires, because like even the way that they process blood is completely sensitive to everything that's in the blood.
Yeah.
It's also making the frogs gay, people. Making the frogs gay. The water. It's in the water. Anyway.
Imagine vampire Alex Jones.
Oh God. Oh my.
I look at Adam and I go, oh yeah, I feel like Adam would be like, that's what I would be like if I was a vampire. Right. Like I would be all like broody and like, oh, you know, like even though I've lived through this and watched humans fuck up repeatedly while I've been here, like still depressed each time that they keep doing it, you know? Like I read that Jim Jarmusch said that, I can never say his name the proper way, but that he said
I like
Adam
Jarmusch
is
better than
saying it. That's how I always say.
We just call him JJ around here.
Okay.
Pretty tight, so.
JJ baby, how's it going?
The only JJ acknowledged by this show, except for Cloverfield. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so Adam is 500 and Eve is 2000, supposedly. That's the
really?
chronological.
Okay, so there's an age gap.
And then Eve is like, yeah, so Eve's, well, you could kind of tell that, I thought from the start, that she was clearly the elder in the group.
She also says something like, you weren't there for the Tartars, you weren't there for the plagues. Like she has that whole line where she lists a bunch of stuff that he wasn't around for. So I did get there was an age gap. I just didn't know that was the chronology of it.
Yeah. So apparently that's the chronology. So then Eve, I'm assuming because she's talking about 60s and 70s and stuff. So she's like, the reason she's so disgusting is because she's so young and like loves that stereotypical vampirism, like that they are so like kind of like repulsed by. Because it's like, ew, that's like when you're a brand new vampire. Ew. Like,
that's basic. That's basic vampire business.
Yeah. We're not that. And I love like the two, like I was thinking about this yesterday, like how the opposites are so strong in this film. So like you've got everything is very, very, very like, you have black and white, and Eve and Adam are always very contrasting. She always has white on, he has black on, like. And then as you get towards the end of the film, you notice that both of them, when they're on that plane heading back to Tanzania, that they both are all white. And then like it's kind of like, you know, and the scenes where they're in bed together and from above they're like a puzzle piece and they're all white. And there's like even the gloves, like obviously, like there's the scene when Eve arrives and she comes inside and there's a deliberate shot to the side of the front door where she takes her white gloves off and places them on top of Adam's gloves on the side table. So sitting there,
and there's a whole, and we'll get into this because I have a clip about it, but there's a whole thing about the gloves, and it's actually very intentional that you have to actually, number one, you have to be invited into a vampire's house. Like when they say it's bad luck, like Jarmusch really did want to have it be like kind of bad luck. If you kind of just enter without permission, you can't just go into a vampire's house. You have to just kind of ask to go into the house, and then you have to have the other vampire remove your gloves. So it's like a custom that like, you know, I mean, I don't know if there's anything like he didn't specify whether there's something that actually happens to you if you don't respect those customs. I guess not, because you know, Ava's in there and just kind of hanging out, but she's like kind of sick the whole time too.
Well, I mean, that is part of vampire lore too.
But it's actually sort of expanded upon here. Like it's actually given like, you know, instead of being like, oh, you have to do this thing, why we don't know. Like it's we still don't know the why, but we have some more details of the hows, which I think is interesting.
Well, Jarmusch invented the glove part of it. That was he wanted to add something to vampire lore.
Yeah. I was talking about the being invited in part. Not
No, that's a long and they make that joke. We're like, oh, you really think that garlic can you know is bad too? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like this burn it all down like younger philosophy where it's like you don't really have to follow these customs anymore. Like we're vampires, we're chilling, and you know they're very rigorous about it, which makes a lot of sense when you realize that you know you're kind of going through life. And if you see blood, like all of a sudden your fucking blood fervor kicks in, kind of, you know what I mean? Like a shark. Like, so it's like, it kind of makes sense to kind of have these ritualistic things, kind of like someone with like severe anxiety or like, you know, someone that has like OCD almost, like, you know what I mean? Like you have to kind of continually watch yourself and regulate yourself and make sure that you don't kind of have an episode in the same way. And you know, they have to kind of watch themselves to make sure they don't go into fucking blood frenzy.
And then I become like, I feel like there's this kind of like, especially, you know, that there's this connotation of like, oh, we're not animals, like, you know, like it's like just control yourself, like, you know, with Adam's so disgusted at Eve, like, and just like because she brings she brings like the vampires down to this pathetic level, like kind of thing, that they're just mere animals surviving. And obviously even Adam are very much like living this very well established, like quite studious, like very like eccentric life, and know all these people, and they're very like la-di-da. And
definitely
I think,
has in this house we believe science is real.
Yes.
Black lives matter. He has all those water is life. Like he has that sign on the front of his.
yeah. And he's like, it's like, I mean, the obsession with Tesla, like constantly talking about all of that, like. There's like this, but the one thing I loved is that like you've got two polar opposites again. You've got Adam, who's like very obsessed with everything from the old world, like, and everyone there, and everything's analog. Like even when he's like talking to her on Skype, he has it run through like an analog crappy ass little.
Yeah, that's
TV.
one of the funniest parts of the whole movie.
Yeah,
like all the wires.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Like she's using an iPhone, right? And like is what we would consider.
But this is what I'm saying, right? So you have.
But he cobbles it together. He cobbles together like this incredible Rube Goldbergian apparatus to do exactly the same thing that you can just do to buy a fucking iPhone. Yeah.
And I love that she calls him my little pack rat.
Yeah, yeah.
Just such a cute.
He is. He's like, no, I'm cobbling this, and look at me, I made my little light thing because I don't want to be modern. And then you have her, who's like iPhone, and she's like, oh yeah, music fun, like just enjoy it, and like she's just, and even with the icy poles, when she introduces him to an icy pole, it's like she's so like open to like moving forward and like what the future people are doing, and he's really like stuck back.
By the way, I used to have, well, I still have them downstairs. There's this big freezer in my house, and we would like collect like all these boxes of popsicles, and we'd have them in a thing. The blood popsicle looks exactly like the fucking strawberry popsicles I have in my fridge. So I'm never gonna fucking eat those again. No.
Yeah. Don't grab
negative,
the wrong
darling.
Don't grab the wrong one. So a
yeah,
couple
they're
things.
big fans of Peter Steele.
An observation. I think Adam is very much a guy that you would never hear about from him directly, of course, but would have thoughts about analog recording versus digital.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Lots of thoughts about it, and would discuss at length with you. Additionally, getting back to the vampires being invited in, I kind of like that. Like it's sort of like, oh, we can do it. It's just a bad idea. Like don't.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also interesting because like this movie takes a lot of those vampiric norms, if you will, and does kind of turn them on their head, but also sort of like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's kind of interesting to me that, oh yeah, maybe it's because it's so rare, but when they drink blood, it's like heroin. Okay, yeah, well, that makes dinner time a whole new experience. But the idea also, the ethics of it, right? Like that if you drain blood from someone, like, oh, she could have at least turned him, right? Like that.
Yeah, and at the end of it, it's kind of funny that they're like, oh, we're still not animals. Like we're gonna devour these two people in Tangiers and like these beautiful young kids. But you know what? We're gonna do it ethically. We're gonna make sure to turn them. They'll be vampires just like us for all eternity. Like
locally sourced.
She makes that statement. I think it's brilliant where she goes, like she's like, oh, that's so 1500s of you.
Yeah. Or the other thing is kind of human beings kind of coming out of the wilderness at the same time that vampires were, because obviously they are originally human beings. And like it's interesting that when they're talking about like oh well, we're civilized now, like you used to just kind of be able to throw somebody into the river and everyone kind of had tuberculosis and they were like floating in there, so you kind of just like the ethics of
just do it.
Well, the ethics of vampirism kind of changes throughout history, because there are times where people are just kind of being just destroyed into like pieces and killed and thrown into rivers, and sewage is just flowing through the cities, and like what I mean, like there's all these different, and like as things get more civilized, it's like, no, we have to change up, we have to get more civilized, like we have to become these
like the shock on Tilda Swinton's face when they throw the body into like that pool of acid that's just around, and she's just like, oh. And she's a vampire, but she's like,
that was visual.
Well, that just happened. No.
Right.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's like bringing. I think this is, to me anyway, the more realistic kind of modernized vampire in a way, because there's like struggling with their old ways, but also new ways, and it kind of actually attaches that. Whereas I think most of the modern vampire films, they launch straight into modern, and there's no discussion, or they're still stuck in the oldie days, like
You know, what year did Twilight come out? 2009 as a movie.
I don't know.
Something like that. Right around there.
Yeah. So this is kind of on the heels of this this vampire craze, I guess, that happens, right? Like a very weird sanitized Mormon version where it's like, no, we can't have sex till we get married and I turn you, like that weird, and that is the modern iteration, right? Like he's just going to school like 700 years later or whatever in high school, which like problematic as fuck, bro. Why are you hanging out around high schools? But
and he's like, I'm like, well, however 1,000 years or whatever. It's like, you creeper.
Yeah, it's like the vampire Matthew McConaughey.
Age gap.
Yeah,
that's like, he's just rolling up. Yeah, like, all right.
That's what
look at all these men on up by all these girls.
That's what I like about high school girls. I get older. Yeah. Wait, I stay the same age.
It really is.
I stay the same age, and they stay the same age.
All right.
It is. It's creepy, and like, obviously that franchise has like Forrest said, it's a cleaned up kind of, it's got all this Mormon propaganda going on, but it's very teenager as well. We haven't kind of had a in-betweener, I guess.
Yeah.
That's something.
This is like I got in trouble when I got in trouble when I was like 16 and I ended up going to like the school, and the only thing that they had was like a bookshelf or whatever, and I was like there for like almost like a year, and I read all 4 Twilight books while I was there because there wasn't really that much to read there. So like, I don't know. So I like got deep into the Twilight lore at this fucking residential placement for like a few months, and was like, oh well, now I know all about this. I wish I like didn't, but like it was weird. The books were fucking weird. I haven't watched the movies, but like the books were fucking weird.
Yeah, and I watched I watched the first one because I was like, people going on about it. Oh, what? Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. I waited until it was like done in theaters and like it was all whatever, and I thought, okay, I'll watch the first one. I have never laughed so hard in my life. The acting is so horrendous. Everything about it like translates horrendously on film. Like,
by the way, I only prefaced my thing with that story because I read all 4 of the books, and if I said it any other way and I was just like, oh, I was bored and I read all 4 Twilight books, it would have been a weird,
I mean, it was a paycheck for Eddie Gathecki, so I'm not going to complain about those movies at all.
Like the books, and I'm like, what? Okay, but like people that I wouldn't pick and have actually liked the books, and I'm like,
they weren't. I mean, they weren't the worst thing in the world, but they were weird. It's what you would expect of like a Mormon woman that's kind of I guess exploring that world while also kind of trying to bring it into like a more of a magic thing. I guess it's what you would expect from that. I think.
Yeah, she was in her 40s or something, so she was like a housewifey type Mormon, and it's like really weird to be writing about teenagers.
And then these teenagers, they banged so hard once they were fucking married.
Yeah, and then the whole imprinting on an infant thing,
and then the imprint thing in that last one.
Yeah, what happens if you get divorced? Well, I guess you just don't get divorced. What happens if you get divorced and then you've been turned and you're like,
guys, I have actually my entire life avoided being in a conversation about Twilight.
And then we just brought it up for you.
Congratulations.
So
if you want to show me Titanic against my will, then we.
But wait, so I had a point with this actually that I was trying to get to.
All right.
So that's like 2009, I guess. The movie version of it, I mean, and and then you have obviously when in the 80s, right? That's when Anne Rice is writing, and doing the Lestat,
Interview with a Vampire, all those. The Vampire. What's the name of
Vampire
the
Diaries?
Yeah,
I think, right? Or
the Vampire Diaries. I think it's the series.
That's what I thought it was, but then I was like, no, it's the Princess Diaries you're thinking of, and like I doubted myself.
Princess
but I mean, so that one's
where's that mashup anyway?
That one's interesting too, I think, right? Because I mean, they make fun of it endlessly in Preacher, and that's when I first found out like Anne Rice existed. Like I had no reason to look up her work before that, but like reading Preacher, like it's kind of almost this like parody of a band. Like it's like someone that's like, because Tom Cruise's like character in at least the movie, like when I've seen it, is kind of like he's living almost as if he's like he's almost like a libertine. He's like a libertine from like the 1800s or something. You know what I mean? Like
it's one of his better movies. Better performances.
Yeah, I'm not a Tom Cruise fan at all. I despise him.
I had no idea.
I think he's brilliant in that film, and
it's like Edge of Tomorrow good.
I can watch that film and not even hate. Like I'm just like, okay. Like
he's got a couple. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff, so it's like even a blind chicken finds a kernel of corn now and again, you know.
Well, all right. So that's one touchstone, and then I think that also, I mean, after watching Jim Jarmusch talk about this, I wanted to make sure that he was talking about this, but they make a reference to there's such pretentious references, and it's so funny that they are. But like, first he has Dr. Faust, which is like the Faustian bargain with the devil. But then he also has Dr. Caligari, the guy calls him, which is the first horror movie ever made, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So and
the first, but
it's like one of the
actually.
No, but it's like the most iconic long form.
Yeah, it's groundbreaking. It's was it Salvador Dali directed that, right?
I believe so. Wait, or he did the art design for it at least, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen it. So
he didn't direct it, but hold on. It was directed by Robert Wien and written by Hans Janowitz. But I'm trying to see if he's on the. I thought he did the art design for it.
I know, but it's still an incredible movie.
It is.
Absolutely.
So they go out of their way to reference that, and also, I mean, the most famous vampire movie in the beginning of it is Nosferatu. I think before Dracula, I guess, and
it's the most famous vampire movie ever, From Dusk Till Dawn.
But I love that movie, but
I do too.
So that movie's just kind of the same way that this is kind of incidental.
I had a friend who'd never seen it and didn't know anything about the movie going in. And
Quentin Tarantino doesn't say the N-word one time.
They spent the first half of the movie going, "Oh, I hate these kind of movies. Why are you making me watch?" I'm like, "Trust me, you're gonna love it." And then like the second half of the movie going, "This is the best movie ever."
Right, yeah. It's not even the second half. It's not even the second half. It's the last third. It's the last third of the movie suddenly becomes a vampire movie. I remember watching that and being so fucking blown away because I watched the first 2/3 are not that, and then all of a sudden there's vampires. Like, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah. It lands a surprise in a way that M. Night Shyamalan would be enviable of.
Wait, you can just add vampires? Fuck.
Why didn't anybody tell me? I should do that with the old. Is that what it is with the island? I haven't even seen it.
But it's great that you can actually have.
I've seen that.
Find somebody not knowing the twist and just watching it with them. Just, do that. If you've not seen the movie, just go ahead. There's no vampires.
Turn this off and go do that.
Spoiled it. No, so I wanted to just kind of go through this. I mean, I have a clip of the chronology that where
so these are the vampire movies that are around at the time. Like these are the like people are thinking of vampires. I mean, I remember that meme of like Blade hunting the kids from Twilight. Like that was a thing at the time.
Yeah,
like, cool people liked because Blade is awesome.
So just watch the trilogy.
I mean, and actually, those are better movies than people give them credit for. Frankly,
I love Blade. I mean, the first one you've got, I mean, that scene on the dance floor with Tracy Lords is fucking amazing.
Pretty great. And also I love that in Blade 3 they get a cameo by Blade. That's pretty good too.
Yeah.
The Ryan Reynolds movie,
It also gives you the iconic crying Wesley Snipes where he's going through his eyes and he's the
but these are the vampire movies that are around. The idea of what a vampire is or should be is kind of like changing culturally.
And then you also have
vampire movies. These are bad movies, but vampire movies version.
Just to put that in the zeitgeist too, which honestly, the vampires from Blade are not that far off from what they are in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree because it's like self-aware.
The lore's a little more different, but you know, for the most part, like the way everything functions is more or less the same.
Yeah. Definitely.
So anyway, that's I was attempting to reset that up, not do a side conversation. Sorry, Forrest, but anyway, that's what was going on with it. What's the deal with vampires? That's what was going on at that moment in time.
So this is I have two different clips.
You can't even suck blood in the college campus anymore. Okay, really done.
By the way, Jerry Seinfeld, most famous age gap, that you've never heard of is he was dating a 17-year-old who was still in high school and he was 36 or something.
Oh wow!
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn, Jerry.
And then he broke up with her because she went to college. Just fucking insane. All right, so this I have two different clips of talking about this chronology, but I think it's interesting because they really did think about it. Because you could just kind of make a movie like this and not necessarily think about it as deeply as they did. I think.
I like how Tilda Swinton could also be an attractive woman and an attractive man at the same time.
And she could also be kind of Margaret Thatcher and Snowpiercer, or like
oh yeah, she's very
adaptable. She's also ageless. Like sometimes you'll see her and you're like, hang on, she's like, how old is she again? Then you'll see her another time, she'll be like, hang on, she's old. And then you'll see her again and you'll be like, no, she's young. How the fuck old is she? Like, you can't.
She literally is a vampire. She literally is.
Yeah, maybe it's
let me play this. Let me do this.
They do the thing in this film where later on in the film they do actually give her makeup that makes her really old, and they do that Zoom thing, and you're like, oh my god, because we looked up and we're like, yeah, she's like 60 something.
Really?
Don't look it.
Yeah, she's like 61 or something, I think.
The Jason's got in trouble for commenting on a woman's age on air, so maybe we should be talking about that. Yeah, you can do it. I can't. Yeah.
Trying together, actually, trying to live, obviously, but also trying to live and stay together, and that was an interesting kind of cat's cradle that we had to drum up.
Mm. Mm. And they cover their mouths because they have some pretty intense teeth. I guess.
And what's with the gloves?
Oh, well, the gloves was just, we had this, as I say, we came with our Martian's eye view. We were able to create our own lexicon, our own series of traditions, our own series of vampire lore. And so we had this etiquette around our hands being covered and there being this moment when you are invited into someone's house. You have to be invited into another vampire's house and they take your gloves off for you. It's just another planet.
Yeah, because all these mythologies, they come kind of arbitrarily throughout vampire lore, garlic, reflection in silver or a silvered mirror, the cross, all of these things. But it's funny, if you study vampire films, the first time any fangs are even visible in a vampire film isn't until the 1950s in a Mexican film, El Vampiro. And but this is not true in Nosferatu or Vampire or even Count Dracula, the Universal film with Bela Lugosi. So these things change. So we wanted to have one that was our own. So we had the gloved hands thing. And I like very much in a scene where Anton Yelchin, they're in a rock club and he tries to, he says something like, wow, you guys got such cool gloves. Like, where do you get them? And there's no answer at all. He gets no answer. So they just look cool.
But I wasn't really joking when I said it depends what street you go on, they would stick out. I know many streets that they would be, really at home. And for some people, this is a vampire film. For some people, it's a fairy story. And for other people, it's a documentary.
Yeah, like Tilda Swinton. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I mean, she's fantastic. I mean,
she is my favorite period of David Bowie.
I have a clip where she talks about the David Bowie video that she did. for later on, but because I want to talk about the music later on. But
there's a lot to talk about there. But I think that's interesting that like him, Jarmusch, kind of giving that thought to like what is known as vampire convention now are things that were not conventionally thought of with vampires until like certain movies brought that in. And
El Vampiro or Vampiro, like.
Well, and the idea that like why shouldn't there be like some like weird custom that you wouldn't know unless you're sitting around like watching like a vampire enter another vampire's house? Why wouldn't you know that? Why would you know that? You wouldn't.
And I think that I also think that it's important to note with this clip that it seems like watching this. I mean, they didn't really talk about it that much, but it seems like Tilda Swinton was intrinsically involved in writing and planning this out with Jim Jarmusch. And I mean, it seems like the other actors weren't as kind of tied into that. It seems like
she seems very kind of instrumental in crafting the character
over the course of 7 years. Believe it or not, I mean, it took 7 years for Jarmusch to come up with a script that he liked. So there was 7 years of him kind of trying to plan this out, not necessarily knowing what he wanted to do with it, writing multiple scripts. The entire time that he was doing that, Tilda Swinton was cast in it because he was like, hey, I want to make a vampire movie, a Tilda Swinton vampire movie, which why wouldn't you want to make that? They're friends and like, of course you want to make that. So we're gonna have vampires,
Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
So Jim Jarmusch is like I'm sorry to interrupt, but he's like the quintessentially cool director. Like you think like Stranger in Paradise and like Down by Law. He was like when indie films meant something 100% different than it does now. He was making films like that were just undeniably cool, low budget, but super cool. And then as the budgets increase, they still were cool. You have like movies like Ghost Dog. And you have, these other films that they like have higher budgets, but are still like, what can I say about it? That was a cool movie. And who else is cool? Tilda, right? So it's like, hey, it's cool people doing cool things for a genre that, let's be explicitly clear, got pretty freaking uncool around that time.
Yeah.
And again, as the Twilight denier, I know we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that, I mean, because you brought this up for a second where you're like, we should talk about Tilda Swinton's, you can kind of do a lot of things with her. Like she can either be, like younger and attractive and or she can be old. Like you could do. And I think another movie that does that is Snowpiercer and her relationship with Bong Joon-ho. She calls him. I find it Director so cute. Bond. She calls him, Director Bond. But they have like she is his muse, like at least in his early movies in the United States, right? Like he has movies in South Korea, but like he comes here and he does Snowpiercer. He does Ocho with her, and so like she's in a bunch of his movies. He treats her like a muse and is very respectful, and they have this working relationship. It seems like she has a very similar relationship with Jim Jarmusch, where it's like. They're friends. Like it's not just like you're watching a movie where they're like, oh, let me cast Tilda Swinton. She's hanging out, like she's one of the most iconic actresses she is. But like it's an intimate relationship where she plans out her characters and she plans out the script with these really fucking amazing directors.
But he's always kind of had that relationship with people he's worked with because go back to his earlier films.
John Lurie.
John Lurie, Iggy Pop.
Fishing with John.
I mean, he's got his, sorry, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, that was pretty much my point. Is that he has this group of people that he's constantly, calling back together, and as time goes on, it's almost like Nick Cave's band. Just happens to be vibing.
Bill Murray.
He
has the entire Wu-Tang Clan. You can just call him up on the phone and be like, hey.
What's going on, Bill Murray?
By the way, I find it fucking amazing that Bill Murray still kind of hangs out with Wu-Tang Clan. Like at least RZA and GZA. Like they're still friends. Wow, they were friends offset.
Love to see it. Yeah.
But yeah.
But it seems like it's so I think what you're going at is it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship, right? Like that, like she's involved heavily with, and maybe that's one of the reasons why she's so fantastic in everything she does, that like she kind of becomes the character because she's so thoughtful about all the things around it. And I mean, I honestly, before I ever saw this movie, I thought it was going to be something totally different than it was. And it's way more intelligent, way more interesting, and way more vibey than I expected. But I was like, it's those vampires. I get it. All right, it's enough. And then I was like, oh, Jim Jarmusch did it? Okay, I'll watch it.
I mean, it's kind of their style of, I guess, vampire lore is very interesting, because you have to start, like, your brain starts kind of going, right, and you start thinking like, oh well, you're kind of on Earth forever unless something happens to you, right? Like, you're kind of in this for eternity. Someone fucking turns you and you're just kind of chilling from then on. Like, at what point, because there has to be different phases of things, and you see that intrinsically in this movie, because Ava, like the young, like her sister or whatever, like her sister that is like a younger vampire. It's totally different than being someone who's been here for so long. They've just watched like the rise and fall of pretty much everybody. And I think Preacher is another thing that kind of tackles that, where it's like, the immortality of it. And Cassidy is not a vampire for very long. Like, I think it's 120 years.
The boredom of it. The boredom of immortality. Too.
Especially if you're someone that has like an addictive personality, or if you're someone that kind of has these like a predilection towards depression, or like any of these like different mental because I don't think your mind doesn't. I mean, your mind changes in the sense of like, now you want blood. But the things like, because
you're the same person you were before, though, and that includes the entire
everything, all of your psyches and traits and behaviors you had when you were a human. So and
it's fascinating that in this couple, like Tilda Swinton's character, I mean, and it's probably because she's been around for longer, sure, but like it also seems like she's very like almost like hands off. She's like, well, the future is coming, we kind of can't do anything about it, let's just enjoy ourselves. We kind of have an endless amount of time. We can really do anything.
She embraces, like I was saying, she with the phone and the modern stuff, like she embraces whatever's going on as she's there, whereas he's still like stuck back in the oldie days.
Well, and Tom Hiddleston, like, what I like about his character though is like he has things where he knows there's things that he should maybe take care of or work on, like when there's a scene of like, oh, can I use your bathroom? Oh, it's out of service. Oh, still? I'm gonna get to it. And for him, it's gonna be like, I don't care about that. It's not important to me. I'd rather
my man doesn't pee or poop.
Yeah, exactly. And it's literally not important to him, but he's also like, it seems like it's a nice moment for the character, because he does seem to be genuine, like, oh yeah, I should do that. Right? Like, I should do that, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is like go track a song, or like, whatever, brood in the corner, etc. etc. We've all been there. I've done learn. I do all those things well, including fixing the toilet.
Wooden bullet done, like, and then it's like, I love that scene too. We were laughing at it last night. Like, the scene when when he comes in and he's like, I got you the bullet, and he's like, oh yeah, great. And then he's like, and then he gives it to him and stuff, and then he's like, oh, like, can I come, want to do this or whatever? And he's like, oh no, I can't, I'm busy now. Like, and then goes in, it's like, how was your friend? And you were dropping off one bullet to them, and they're like, no, I'm busy now.
Like, I'm gonna be real busy, tied up for the night. I
think I should come in, just I think it's coming in for a little bit. And
why don't we hang out, actually? Why don't we talk about whatever's on your mind right now?
It's a really funny detail that he made him sign a fucking confidentiality agreement, which I think is like, you think about the fact that it's like, oh well, I mean, maybe this guy's kind of a celebrity, low key, like his music kind of got out there, whatever, and it's like, nah, he's like a vampire, like it's
it's more about the and even
let me make sure that this is not something you could litigate. Like, let me make sure that I can sue you.
When he says, I think, well, the bit that I liked as well, before the wooden bullet, when he asked him to go and make this wooden bullet, and he goes, but I brought all those other bullets over.
It's implied that like he's well armed for some reason.
Adam, come on, Adam. How many times do you do this? Every year you have an existential breakdown and decide you're going to die because you can't live with this, what's going on with these humans.
Well, who doesn't have that at least once a year? I mean, you have that in. I get it in. I mean, ironically, I get it in January and February, where I'm like, it's never going to be warm again, and I freak out. I'm like, it's never going to be warm again. It's snowing. It's never going to stop snowing, and then the spring. So I just
I have to keep supplying you with wooden bullets.
First, like, bring over one wooden bullet, please. Thank you. Can I just say that Anton Yelchin's character in the job he has, which is basically fetch cool musical gear from around the world. That's Tony Ash, who plays in Secret Friends. He was on the Predator episode, of course. He once mentioned that like that's a job I would like. I would like to do, and he's perfect for like scouting out that. And what I love about this film is all the stuff he gets is actually stuff that a musician would be like, hell yeah. That's awesome. Like, it's legitimate. It isn't like the kind of thing where they like, oh, we made up a thing and put it in. Come on. Like, it's all like, and even when he says like, you know, whatever, mother of toilet seat for the back, it's like, that's the thing with those guitars is they do kind of look like, you know, it's the same material. And that's one of the reasons they're so amazing, because they sound great, but there's like no reason why it should work. And like little intricacies and details. I mean, and Jim Jarmusch, he does make music himself, but he's also just very much a rock and roll director. I mean, I think that's evidenced in like a lot of his work, but the fact that they throw in that and have it be so authentic that you get an immediate idea of what those guys' relationships is, which is that like, this is a guy that doesn't want to leave his house ever or see anyone because his heart is so broken, because ultimately he's depressed, but he's an optimist. Like, he wants humans to do better. He gets excited about scientific innovations and things like that. But he does is like, he knows like, well, I can make this music. I don't want anyone to hear it, but I can like do it for the sake of doing it. And I got all this money. I don't care about it. Like, I can, you know, this guy seems okay. I guess I'll give him like a gigantic billfold full of money to go find cool stuff for me. Which basically is like probably what I imagine Keith Richards does. Anyway,
and it seems like kind of the people that are vampires kind of have a predilection or whatever, or like you know, that kind of they exist because like the Christopher Marlowe character, right? Like John Hurt's
John Hurt character,
yeah. So his character in it, which is a real thing that, you know, a lot of Shakespeare's work is you know, there's these conspiracy theories, at least, that it was probably written by the actual Christopher Marlowe, but which is kind of a funny detail to throw in there, but you know, it's like this creativity, right? Like, it's kind of these people that are burning with a passion for creativity and then stuck here for eternity. And it's like, we can't, like, it's cute when Tilda Swinton's character is kind of just like Eve is like, oh, couldn't we just like drop a little hint once in a while? And he's like, no, we can't. But it's like this creative passion that's still burning in the person for eternity now. And it's the same thing, I think, with why Adam is so depressed. Like, part of it, you know, like.
So think about working on your craft and becoming so amazing at it and like breaking all the boundaries, and like the art is like way better than ever it is, but you know that you literally cannot share it with anyone, because if you do, it's going to endanger not just you, but everyone that you know. So that's the position.
There's a lot of people that they know. Because
and hold on. I'm more
that there's a lot more vampires out there
than just those ones too. But I think it's important that like think about this during COVID times, right? Like, and I know what didn't come out during COVID times, but you know, myself, I've struggled, like many have struggled with that. But the idea that you doing the thing you love endangers your safety is this is actually kind of a prescient movie for quarantine. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to get that out there. That's fine. You can railroad me all you want later.
No, it just seems like I wanted to put that in there because it seems like there is a whole community of vampires that we don't ever get to see. We get to see 3 of them or 4.
But it's kind of yeah. So it's implied that there's a bunch of them, and that most of them kind of like go by this vampiric norms, but some of them may be like a Mia type that like kind of just do whatever they want. Run around.
Yeah. I mean, even when they show the, you know, like when there's a scene where Eve is like, she goes into the room, she turns the light on and sees all the portraits of all of their friends, like all of these people from all of over.
Which a lot of them are Jim Jarmusch's friends too, by the way, but I love it. Like Tom Waits and like, anyway.
Well, they're just
I'm a vampire.
Like 13,000, you know, like whatever. You've got 1800, 1500s, 1800s, 1600s. And then
you know that one Tom Waits song that's
there's like his Iggy Pop's head. Over here is like Neil Young, and there's Tom Waits. That's it. Like, it's like, and everyone else is like from like billions of years ago. It's like,
you know that one Tom Waits song that's like the bats are in the belfry, the something's on the floor. You ever heard that song? There's a song So I feel like that's the Tom Waits vampire song. Sorry, I just had to say that as soon as you said Tom Waits. I'm like,
gotta go. Well, let's not forget Tom Waits was in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Right? He starts off the movie like eating flies in the sanitarium. Is that what Renfield, right? Is the name of the character?
Yes.
But all that said, I like the idea, Renee, that you're talking about, that like this idea that he used to have this like large and wild friend group that has like gradually just gotten like smaller and smaller as time has gone on, and he's basically sequestered himself away from like not just enemies but also for friends. And I think that's key to understanding the film, which moves at the pace of a glacier, but I love it.
Yeah, and the way that like, I mean, the way that Eve knows that, when she sort of says, no, tell me that story about that person or this and that, because it gets him going, and she kind of ignites that. She's trying to ignite that passion in him that's dulled by like continuously bringing up stories that he has to retell and then remember.
And it's Mary Wollstonecraft, right? It's the woman that wrote Frankenstein.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of like this.
No, Mary Shelley. Mary Wollstonecraft's her mom.
Oh, well.
But she used that in the when she first wrote the book. That's what she put her name in it.
Yeah.
Did she really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's what she's trying to bring back that memory of, right? Like this Gothic period where they're kind of writing this like Victorian era, I guess, like horror.
Friends and doing all that stuff, and and she talks about
stuff was fun.
Yeah,
but it brings you into this mindset where he's kind of probably been depressed, or at least had these kind of manic. Well, he's had these manic states since then, because that's like the horror genre. Like he's helping them write the horror genre, and like those are his friends at the time, and whether so it's fascinating. Like even his like he's someone who's so existentialist and so like kind of wrapped up in this whole philosophical center of things that he's like even like the time that she's like, oh, this is the best time I ever had was like hanging out with the woman that wrote Frankenstein. Like
yeah, exactly. And like it's like if I keep she just like goes and goes bringing all these stories back, trying to get him. I love the bit where Marlowe says like, I wish he like that I'd met him before I'd done whatever books for Shakespeare, like, and it's like, because he is such a, just like this existential broody guy who just feels too much, like constantly calling these people zombies and like kind of, he does, he's sort of like saying that they're crap, but at the same time, they're not. He's so extremely invested in the human race, like, at the same time, and that's why he's in pain. He's putting himself like, it's like when Eve points at, says, you're still doing this. It's like he puts himself through this painful cycle each time when people, it's like he doesn't want to love the humans but can't help himself.
Well, I think that's kind of something that's incredibly resonant as like a leftist, right? Like, or as a socialist of any kind of type, like almost like you have this desire to see human beings and society improved, and it's like society doesn't improve, and you're just sitting there endlessly kind of
but people are shit is the problem. That's the problem with that is people are terrible, right?
Imagine compressed like to where you've been alive for
centuries.
So it's like, literally me sitting on Twitter for centuries. I'm like things are gonna get better this time, and then everything's just like it's you're black-pilled, as the term goes, right? Like where you just kind of are in this incredibly nihilistic state where you're like things can't get better, but it's that endlessly, and you're like because that comes from optimism a lot of times. Like you're like, oh, I really want things to get better. Things don't.
Like he even makes life even longer because he's like. And he's like, he's not going out and doing all these things when she's like doing all these things and learning all this stuff, and he's just like, I'm just gonna sit in this room. Like obviously he's doing his music, but like he's just like reliving this cycle and like making it worse for himself as much as anyone. Like it's almost like but I think like
but that empathy that's important. Oh sorry, Renee, but like
no, it is it's 100%. It's like that's what makes him who he is. It's like, and also it kind of illustrates the difference in like how long Eve's been around and him, like, and how the differences in he's still struggling. He's really just a young vampire too, in his own way, and he's struggling still with the dealing with the humanity over time.
And that's a subversion of the vampiric norms as well, because that's not what we don't think of like ruinous empathy when we think of vampires, right? I mean, that's not a thing we normally think of. So that's what makes it so great, right?
Backwards, but they never really talk about it in the sense of like, oh yeah, these people like they lived through all of these times. So it's like they just sort of flash back, and it's like a mini second of like, oh yeah, they're old, but like you never really think
it's like this
they
show
lived all of these lifetimes over and over again, like just keep.
But also, I think the focus on that on movies is usually like, oh, here's all the reason why they've become numb to the needs and desires of the human race. I think the focus is always on that. Whereas this is interesting because I can't think of another film that's sort of like, I mean, again, I guess if we talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, right? Okay, where there's a certain amount of like here's what happens when you care too much, and it's a freaking bummer because people are always letting you down over the years, like in small intrinsic personal connection ways and in large cultural ways that it's a drag.
Like every girl that ran away from Joss Whedon.
I guess it's contractually obligated that we got to mention it, but I'm just not willing to throw that entire oeuvre of art out because of that.
I don't think we should be throwing any art out. I even enjoy Woody Allen movies. I don't give a fuck. I'll say that.
Yeah. There's some good movies. He's a scum bucket, but they're good movies.
Yeah.
Polanski, I'm gonna stop watching Rosemary's Baby. Fuck off.
Chinatown's a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
All right. Renee. Well, the cancel show.
I think I was gonna say now that we've gone down that road. Renee, were you gonna say something or?
I was just gonna say to me this, like, I think this film, like, obviously there's so many. The best thing about it is that everybody can come in and take out what they sort of want from this film. Like, there's you could have 5 different people all watch this film and they've never seen it before, and they will all come out with like different ideas about what this is and why and blah blah blah. And I've heard so many different friends like what they got from the film and things. And it's like, for me personally, it's a film about it's a film about survival and about love, and I guess like and kind of that like it's the longing and the suffering and like seeing the dullness of the light. And I kind of at the end of the day, and it's like there's everything obviously from start to finish in the film like ends up going topsy-turvy in the opposite way, because they're obviously so civilized, and then at the end of the day they're forced to then they're forced to throw that all out the window and just go back to animalistic. They're just their survival. And I love
there's moments in the movie where they actually use and I don't remember if I cut the clip with this in it, but there's a moments where they use like wolf heartbeats. Like they literally use the sound of a wolf's heart beating to like show you that like they actually are this animalistic like a creature that's decided to kind of civilize themselves. But like the connection to the animalistic is even to the point where you're like subconsciously hearing what a wolf's heartbeat sounds like, apparently.
Yeah, no, that's true. And there's like, this movie is brilliant for a goth or a rocker or whatever, because it's filled with nuggets all the way through. And I mean, one of them is like, the scene at the end, which I love this so much, and the full quote is amazing, and even the piece of work is amazing. It's like when he's talking about the theory, and like he's talking about, like the two things being pulled apart, and they're entangled, and they take a piece, and they feel like, each other, even though they're across the other side of the world, which is essentially, a euphemism for Adam and Eve, like, and what their relationship is. And it's like, it might be a silly little thing, but it's might be a silly little thing, but it's also like, it actually, you get it, and you're kind of like, oh, it gives you the goth warm and fuzzies, It's like all those little boxes are ticked off with the nice little quotes and little like things like that.
I mean, another thing that I find kind of interesting that's connects it to like right now almost is the fact that like we're kind of, I mean, I don't know if this is happening to this level in Australia. I'm guessing probably not, but like we kind of have this opioid crisis going on in America right now, right? Like, and there's like the fentanyl thing where like fentanyl kind of it's cheaper than like heroin and stuff like that. So like, people that are addicted to drugs, which I've had a lot of friends that are, and like I've had a lot of friends that, got sober from heroin and then did heroin and then like died from that. Like I've had quite a few close friends. And in this movie, there's almost kind of like a every single time now that they drink somebody's blood that isn't like, freshly, tested, whatever blood that they get from. And I do find it kind of a really funny scene where he's like sketchily in the hospital with the fucking Dr. Faust thing being like, and he's like, oh, I want to make sure I get this like good blood. But like, if you don't have that, you kind of start to wither away the same way that a drug addict would kind of start to wither away and like go through these withdrawals. But like their withdrawals are you're going to disappear and fucking die.
Well, I mean,
like,
this is like having pure heroin versus
right,
like
which goes back to the heroin thing. Exactly.
So it's all kind of, a lot of it's contaminated and like diluted. And if you kind of just decide like, oh, these are 2 kids that I found on the street, like, and you decide to drink the blood, that could be contaminated blood and you could be dead in the next day. So it's like kind of
the ground score heroin. That's how Chris died.
I mean, I guess that's the whole point of like Tangier. Is it like it's kind of like, because Tangier is like, I guess, it's like they're untouched-ish, so it's kind of like these things haven't hit these countries yet. So it's kind of like it's easier to find. Like,
I mean, John Hurt dies from, contaminated blood from the wrong person,
But it's like we don't really ever get that story, and I feel like he was the one who was getting all this pure blood. So it's clear, like, as everything's falling apart in society over obviously in Detroit, like it's starting to happen there whilst she's away, and then when she returns, it's like, oh fuck,
And there's there's the hospital system, and there's also the fact that like, because he says he went to the hospital and kind of got like trash blood from the hospital, but you have to also assume that all of these connections that they have are impermanent, right? Like all these connections that they have
exactly.
are people that are going to eventually die. So it's like at some point, like, and the animalistic side of it is before civilization, where like before this kind of civilization, right, where everyone's kind of blood is contaminated, but you kind of have to live within the system. Like you have to assume that like you probably could get like tuberculosis or something like that, but like you probably have to assume that the blood was relatively uncontaminated. Like you just kind of go around, and number one, like the civilization isn't there yet, so for people to be like, hey, like a cop's gonna chase you down and like probably like throw you to a fucking cell and you're gonna wither away in that cell. But also you have to think at the same time, like the blood seems to be probably pretty uncontaminated as long as you find someone that's not like dying of a disease.
Right. So just on that, like, I just real quick, I mean, so just for the record, I give blood regularly, right? Even before being vaccinated, knowing that it was needed. I'm actually O negative. That's not the most rare, but it's rare enough that it's something that I just do. I don't need a round of applause for anything. But what I was getting at with that is that like they make you fill out a questionnaire.
I'll give you one because you know what? Not everyone can give blood.
Exactly. Some people can't. And so exactly.
It's quite hard. I know here in Australia, I don't know what the rules are over there, but here in Australia, the rules are quite tough to give blood.
Well, exactly. Because so that's what I was going to get at is that the criteria for you have to go through, like, answer all these questions, which I guess someone could lie, but like,
a lot of people still can't give blood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's arbitrary things like, what's that, Renee?
Do they have the tattoo rule there? Like here,
you're
not within a certain amount of time. It's within
6 months.
6 months, I think, if I remember correctly. And but then also it's like, were you in these countries at these times? I mean, it's like 40 questions you got to go through, and that's why I think it's so interesting that and they all make sense, especially if you think about them, right? But it's the whole thing with him going to what's the guy's name? Jeffrey, the guy that's in Westworld too. Like, I mean,
right.
Jeffrey Wright, yeah, Jeffrey Wright. Which was like, hey,
right.
He used all that money to found Westworld. I thought that was a pretty good line.
That was my joke. It's the Westworld's literally the sequel to this movie.
I love that. Dr. Watson is the name's character.
And he put himself through medical school as being Basquiat.
I forgot about that, actually.
Yeah, with Tilda Swinton as Andy Warhol.
Right. Yes. But yes, absolutely. So moving on. The point of all this was that I like the whole thing of Tom Hiddleston's character, like not only going to the blood bank to get that good stuff, to get that pure, the O negative, the good stuff, right? But like also doing so in a showy manner, dressing up like a doctor, showing up when he wants to, and him be like, basically like what I forget what he says.
Yeah,
like
no one's gonna pick me. It's like, dude, you just stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it's like everyone is like, what's up with that dude?
Also, the Dr. Faust thing is so fucking pretentious that it's hilarious.
Oh, it's so pretentious. It goes back around to being charming again, basically.
Yeah. No, it is, but like it's just like, oh man, of course this dude is going in there and be like, I'm gonna make up because of course you're here for eternity.
Yeah, we get it. You read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, another nice moment, like Tilda Swinton's bags, and it's just books. She's just bringing books.
Yeah,
and there's just books in the refrigerator. Like there's books everywhere.
Well, it's kind of like the decanter thing, right? Like they're old books. You have to keep them at a certain temperature for them to work.
Yeah.
So it's.
But also, I think that scene where she's putting all those books in. It also almost like it solidifies because you go, hang on, oh yeah, that's right. She's dead. Like she doesn't need clothes or like fucking anything.
Yeah.
Does she? And you're like, it solidifies that point that she doesn't actually need anything.
Like, when she calls out that that Adam's like, oh, you've been wearing that same robe for 300 years or whatever. I'm like, never have I felt more seen, especially during COVID.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, she's like, come on, like she's calling me out, burn Tilda.
The other thing that I find fascinating about her character is that she's been alive for so long that she's learned every taxonomical name of every animal. So when the striped skunk runs by, she's like, Mephitis, and it's like, all right, like you. So because you're watching, but you're watching like Adam be bored enough that he learns every guitar. You know what I mean? Like he's like, oh, I'm fascinated by guitars, and this is something that like as someone that gets kind of fixated on stuff, I completely get. Like I get fixated on certain things, and I like learn a lot of like when I was a kid, I learned like every dinosaur name that I liked, like. You know what I mean? Like I just have an ADD, so ADHD, so I'm like all over the place with stuff, and I'm like, and I'm just I get when I'm interested in something, I would like as a kid I would learn everything about it. And it's kind of just like it's kind of funny that she's been around for so long. She's like she just every time she sees an animal, she like goes by the fucking taxonomical like Latin name for it. And she's like, and it's like, dude, there's a skunk, and that's a fucking like canis, like the coyote, like she's just listing off the fucking names, and it's like, yeah, we get it. Like you've been here for so long that that's what you decided to do with your time.
That's fun. That's fun for you to like learn all that.
Yeah.
The canis lupus or whatever.
Yeah, I love the fungus scene because it's like they're not meant to be. They're trying to illustrate how things have gone wrong by like showing this fungus that's like. It's like we still don't, and then Adam says, like we still don't understand how important fungus is.
Yeah, and we still don't really understand how like it works in some ways. Like
she's talking to it. She talks to the mushroom. She's giving them advice.
Yeah, at the end, and she's
mushroom
like,
is amazing. Mushroom is clouded.
Yeah, it's like you're not meant to be here. Like and you're kind of like, and it's like mutated, like and got those little bumps all over it. Sort of like, so it's like, what's happened here,
But I mean, metaphorically, if you're looking at like vampires as their own kind of breed or species, right? Like looking at vampires, the rules that they have, right? The rules that we've kind of laid out for them that kind of come out of nowhere. We don't really know, like none of those rules in this movie kind of are hard and fast, right? Like it's not like you actually can't go in through the door. Like that's kind of just something like, or without being invited. Like it's just bad luck. Like it's,
one staple like canon thing is sunlight, obviously.
Yeah. But in the same way, I feel like we don't understand when they're like, oh well, you shouldn't be here. Like, what's the scientific reason for you not being here? Is it kind of the same way that you like don't necessarily know why they can actually go through the door or why, you know what I mean? Like it's like these
I feel like it's a nod at climate change in a way, like because it's like these are things that we've done that have fucked this up. Like it's like even now, like we're seeing it now where we're like, oh these extreme weather changes don't normally happen, and they're like things growing in seasons when they're not meant to, and like all of we're kind of seeing it now, like those effects of things mutating and like what we've all the things we've been doing are now starting to like show their side effects of us. Like But one of the things I think as well is like this amazing juxtaposition, like, because you've got this Detroit where he's saying, you know, everyone left and it's all like, you know, decrepit, and that was this factory, whatnot. And it's like, it's all about resources and like people like giving up, you know, this thing, you know, and so they've all abandoned it. And then, but then you also have that dichotomy of where Adam and Eve are essentially the same. They use humans for their resources as well. And then when they dry up, then they find themselves in this scenario where they have to revert, like I said, to the animalistic state, because they can't be civilized because they've actually got the same issue, like these limited resources that are now.
Yeah, survival's literally on the line. So like that's when like the all of the airs and the artsiness sort of like, all right, well. And I just love, again, spoiler alert, you know, like where they're.
Well, if you haven't seen it, you'll be watching this.
Yeah, if you haven't said, what do you watch? What are you doing? Yeah, but like where they're like, oh, but we'll turn them. Like that's like their junkies just.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we'll turn them, so we'll give them this back.
Yeah, we'll give them the same set of problems we have, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you've gone through human civilization for, you know, a really long time, where you know, these vampire stories are stories of consumption. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally they're sucking the life out of, and then sucking the blood out of, you know, living beings. But as kind of time goes on, as, you know, industrialization takes over, which is the Detroit story, right? Like industrialization just kind of lays waste to somewhere that really was at the forefront of that. Or as something like, you know, you're kind of watching the world kind of wither away. We have become the ones that are doing more consumption than these kind of, you know, fictional vampires. So you're kind of seeing a story where they kind of have to consume us to survive. And, you know, of course they're at like the blood bank and it's like a more civilized way of doing it. But at some point, like
I'd like to make a withdrawal.
Yeah. That's why Adam finds Eve so repulsive, because she's so.
I had to. It's the law, man. I got to throw one in. Sorry.
But yeah, so you're watching everybody burn through their resources in general, just being alive, and so it's kind of looking at it like,
don't use our, like, you're going to use all of our supply. You're going to use all of our supply. Like, it's like
right. Yeah.
He's very, very like conscious of the fact that this is running out. Like, you know, he's like, that's why he's so repulsed with her, like, such careless behavior. It's like, this is not just, you know. Can't just take this.
Which is like the younger, I think younger generations versus older generations. There is some kind of, I mean, I think that also we kind of have like the younger generations are more cognizant that there is like climate change going on. Like there, you know, I don't know very many people like my age that are like climate deniers. But you also kind of have this thing where it's like
that she's like probably like from the 50s, 60s, 70s era. So she's clearly not, obviously. To them, she's like a millennial, but in our society, she's not. Yes. So she's like still stuck in that kind of, you know, she's like, yeah, this is all here. We're going to be here forever. Yeah. We use all this shit. It's the 70s. Woo, peace, love. Like, you know, like rock stars. She's from LA, you know, like.
There's going to be a vampire Greta Thunberg who's just like.
She's like stamping her feet and she's like, you're condescending assholes, you know, and like stalking off. And it's like, you know, they're fucking like
this fucking boomer ass, you know.
Like, like they call people who are alive during the Doomsday Book doomers.
Yeah. It's just like, it would be. It should be like, you know, okay, boomer.
Like, I actually got a question for Renee and Conan. Because this movie came out right about the same time Crime of the City Solution came back out of Detroit, coincidentally.
That's right.
And something about what was that American? Oh, what's the name of that album that they did right around? It very much kind of like the way Detroit was painted reminded me very much of that title track off that
album.
Yeah, that Crime and City Solution album. And you know, since y'all are both rockers, Conan's a rocker and you're a journalist of rock, and
also, I thought you were going to say a mocker, which would also have been good.
Yes, rocker
and a mocker. Yeah.
And you know, Forrest has no clue what we're talking about with Crime of the City Solution.
Yeah, this is basically for Forrest. So
If you watch Vim Vendors,
yeah.
Crime in the City Solution is in a very key moment of Wings of Desire, actually with Roland S. Howard of the Birthday Party, which is incredible.
Yes, that's all. Yeah, exactly. So,
and it's kind of known for a certain aesthetic and cool of like sort of gothy, like weird, kind of somewhat noisy rock. I guess probably.
Yeah, they're Australian, and they're now mostly from Detroit for the most part.
Yeah,
still.
Sydney. They're from Sydney, but yeah. I actually saw Simon Bonnie open for Lanigan a couple years ago, which is great.
Yes. So also, so Roland S. Howard's brother is actually in Crime City Solution.
That's right.
As well. So they're actually about to do like some stuff actually. But yeah, like it's so that they're in Melbourne, obviously now, not Sydney. But yeah, it is. It's like they're like a staple kind of thing. But it's like if you like Nick Cave, you know who Crime and City Solution are.
Well, and that's the whole thing of Jim Jarmusch's whole thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's like he's the guy that's gonna have those types of characters in it, even if it's something as simple as like, oh, that's Jack White's house.
Which I love.
Yeah,
and the music too is very reminiscent.
Jack White, of course, being my favorite porn star.
I
have.
Yeah. This is something I wanted to ask all of you, because this is something I hadn't even thought about, but someone mentioned it to me yesterday, and I was like, hang on, actually, fuck, I didn't even realize that. And then I was like, I wonder if it's intentional or not. So, like I was talking at the beginning about how there's that opposites, the black and the white, constantly popping up, that theme all the way through the movie. And then, of course, we're in Detroit, right? Which is 80% black. And we've only seen one black man, which is the Doctor, right? We've seen no modern music except when we talk about Jack White of the White Stripes and the band at the club, White Hills. Two white.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. By the way, there's a whole subsection of Letterboxd reviews that only talk about this, and almost all of them are insufferable, but like not that interestingly. It's all just like no, it's like, oh, whatever, white man said he moved in Detroit and blah blah. Yeah, we fucking get it. Shut the fuck up forever.
Yeah, but I didn't even like think of this when I was watching it, and then I was like, oh,
vampire gentrification, folks.
So, like
that's at least funny. That's a way better one-liner.
But he loves black music, and he's listening to old black music a lot. But yeah, when there's no, but there isn't any modern music, and when there is, again, White Hills, Jack White, White Stripe.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. All right, so I have a clip about why Jim Jarmusch picked Tangiers and why he picked Detroit, which is cool. I mean, it's kind of is also fascinating that like they're in very different parts of the world, obviously, and throughout the movie there is this opposite theme, right? At the very end of it, where they're like, oh well, no matter what, even if you're on different parts of even if you're at different parts of the world, these two particles will move at the same time, which does make sense. It's kind of
they mentioned
Tangiers and Detroit kind of doing that simultaneously. But yeah,
they mentioned specifically Einstein's Spooky Action at a Distance, which I love so much as someone who
is actually really romantic to read that. I did sit down and read it, and it's like it's like kind of like this romantic story, which is really bizarre, but it is.
What's funny is that is an actual scientific principle too.
Yeah, it is.
But it's something that like it sounds like somebody made up to like make a cool song title, but it's like no, that's actually
it's real.
He literally called it Spooky Action at a Distance, and like was he coining that term for use in this movie? Maybe.
That's my favorite. My favorite Andy Warhol thing. Spooky action at a distance. It's just a splat.
Maybe Jarmusch is actually a vampire.
Maybe he really hasn't aged that much.
No, and he's
funny. It's funny to look at this because he kind of does look like a vampire. He's very involved.
He's had like silver hair since like his first movie.
Forever. Yeah, like I feel like even when he's like so much younger, he still had that hair. Like
we watched Straight to Hell, and he had that hair in 1986.
Yeah,
exactly. 1987. Wow, I don't know why I didn't know that. 1987. So he had that hair.
Yeah, exactly.
We regret the error.
It's like, and he's always been that pale. maybe.
Exactly.
But
connect the dots, people.
Well, the locations of Detroit and Tangier, where they evolved when I did this version of the film several years ago. This script, previous script was set in Rome and Detroit, but Tangier is one of my favorite places on the planet. So I just wanted to shoot there, and also it seemed like a place that it would draw Eve to it. And I like it because it's separated from European culture in a way. It's not a Christian culture. It's not even an alcohol culture. So it's a hashish culture. So there's a very different feeling there. And Detroit is a city I also really deeply love. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Ohio, but Detroit was always, wow. When I was a child, it was almost mythological, Detroit, as being this Paris of the Midwest, and very different, like Cleveland always felt culturally secondary to Detroit. So, and now what's happened with Detroit is very tragic and sad and very unusual, maybe not so unusual, I don't know. But so I was drawn to it visually and historically for its musical culture and industrial culture and its kind of post-industrial visual feeling there. Oh, and as far as the interior stuff, I think maybe when vampire films are really in the genre of horror films, that kind of enclosed claustrophobia is very helpful for that aspect, for being scary, feeling uneasy, vampires sleeping in a confined coffin, not being able to be touched by sunlight, becomes a very claustrophobic and maybe important element when the focus of the film is fear and a horror film, which this is not. This is a film of, in a way, openness, openness to ideas, to culture, to surroundings, to observe, to one's own consciousness. So I think maybe not so consciously on our part, but the film stylistically then reflects that rather than a claustrophobic kind of horror film.
Nice. By the way, since we have it's a predominantly American audience, I'm going to just point out that if you don't know geographically, it's Straits of Gibraltar. So like being separated by Europe, it's like on the other, it's on Africa, Morocco. My dad lived there briefly as a kid, but I feel like we shouldn't assume people know their basic geography for the show. And I love everyone who watches the show.
Yeah, if you're British, you probably know.
If you're British, you know, but if you're American, you may be like Tangier. Where the Sam?
Yeah, because they're always going there. Everyone
is that
goes
the place that there was the battle?
Yeah, wasn't isn't that where the Tasmanian Devil's from?
Oh, like when it got in, like they import. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Don't humor him, Renee, please.
By the way, I want to know when Jim Jarmusch is doing the ASMR, Mike Deep Throat video. It took me so long to figure out what everyone was referencing with that earlier.
And your reward was knowing that information.
Yeah.
So congratulations. Yeah.
Dude, I hate Twitch. I hate Twitch so fucking much.
Please subscribe on Twitch, Movie Night Extravaganza.
And Andy will eventually deep throat a microphone, ASMR style.
Hey, he's done more for this show.
I was going to say,
what do you have to say about this? Yeah,
I was going to say, let's talk about the music, because that's one part we haven't talked about yet, and it's incredibly crucial to the entire film. In terms of just the way Jarmusch brings music in, but he's just so good at making something like that. So you've got the scene in Tangier where Adam walks into that beautiful cafe, and there's I forget where she's from, that artist that's playing, Yasmin, but she's incredible. And but that scene is very poignant and really hones in on her music, and it's really amazing like that, especially that drum beat, and that's really tribal. It's kind of, especially because we're in that part where they're coming back to their nature. And so you've got this woman playing, like singing, that's incredibly got this almost tribal vibe going on. And
she's Lebanese, and she lives in
Lebanese. That's right. That's what I thought. Yeah. But she's a well-known artist over there, and I think the song that she's singing is something about two lovers, I believe. And so it's like quite amazing. But also this film, like from start to finish, is actually, it's funny because this is what I was working on before COVID. So Joseph Van
Vampire?
No, Joseph Van
that's a lifelong obsession, really.
Yeah, that's forever. This is so before COVID, I was working on a tour with Joseph Van Wissem, who is the musician who plays soundtrack. So what was happening is there's very arty festival here, and so he was going to come over, play that festival, and play Just Only Lovers Left Alive in the festival.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Awesome.
And then, and so he was going to play that like as an exclusive in Tasmania, and then come over to Australia and play a bunch of like shows with all of his music. And so he's like the main, he is like really close friends with Jarmusch. Jarmusch's band Squirrel is actually Jarmusch and Joseph. So it's just those two.
Yeah,
so
which is good, by the way. He's actually, and not good like good for directing.
Really good.
Actually
really
legit
good. So Jarmusch is
not quite on the Carpenter level, I would say, but like very, very good.
Yeah. So he's like, which is kind of I think why there's this fascination with the guitars, because Jarmusch is the guitar player. So throughout
he didn't need to research that. He already knew all of that type of
all of that stuff. Exactly. So during the film, whenever you hear the guitar playing, and that's Jarmusch. So anything extra on top of that was Squirrel. So it's like that's him actually doing the guitar, and the rest is Joseph. And and a lot of people became obsessed with this soundtrack, I've got to say, after it came out, and it is an amazing soundtrack
for good reason. And so I know we want to play this clip. Two things real quick. That Yasmin song, not only excellent use of the EBow, an instrument that or a accessory to an instrument I like quite a bit, but it's a key moment of the movie in the fact that like Adam, who is like ready basically to give up, like, and more so than normal, more so than a suicidal vampire is normally, like,
and
finds
his creative spark is reignited,
right? Like finds value, right? He's like finds value and something amazing with that performance. That there's something special and unique about it. That and also there's that great quote, like, oh, she's going to be famous. Oh God, I hope not. She's too good, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. But that's a great moment. And I know we're going to play something about the music right now. I want to just, before we do that, I want to say this is one of the only movies. So a lot of movies will like tie music in as like a narrative function of like, hey, everybody wants to hear this. This music is important, blah, blah, blah. And then you listen to it and it's like, oh yeah, that. Like, and unfortunately I liked it, but the third Bill and Ted movie, yeah, that's kind of what happened there. But that said, the music in this is like, I could legit see like bands, freaking out and being like, we got to cover this song, or like, oh my God, have you heard this record? Because it is really intriguing. It's intriguing in a way that like is reminiscent of certain things. I'm not going to name the specific bands. They don't matter, but it works in a way that as a narrative function doesn't normally work in movies, because the people that are directing it are not so intrinsically tied to music.
Exactly.
I mean, and I also think that it's fascinating that his empathy is deep enough that it's clear that his music's kind of being stolen, and he's so empathetic that And I want to talk about after,
because he calls it a funeral song. What are you doing? Writing funeral songs, right? Like
yeah.
But it's kind of fascinating that like it's clear that Ian's stealing his music and like kind of selling it on the side, right? Like
100%.
Yeah, and so
he's making the black label bootlegs, so he probably reconciles to himself. Well, oh, nobody knows who it is, but then like, Andy clocks him doing it too.
Yeah, but then he's still upset. He's still like upset by his death.
Andy clocked it too when he was watching the movie, but I meant Adam. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, but he's still incredibly upset with his death, and he still lets him, kind of hang out at the house. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like the empathy that he has for that kid is like, yeah, like I know that he's kind of stealing my music, and it's going to end up kind of going places. And the kid kind of is kind of a little bit open about it when he's like, he kind of lies. He lies about it. It's like, oh well, I don't know how they found out where you live, but it's like pretty clear that that's the case. And he's like,
how else would they find out about it? Exactly.
All the other kids that deliver him wooden bullets.
Yeah. But you can tell though that
and
Adam,
Hagstroms.
that Adam knows, he's well aware, and the reason he can't scorn him is because it's kind of like, I think it's his self. Like it's that thing where he's like, I don't want to be known or popular, but at the same time, it's that like little like, like I did that, so there's a little part of him that's still like kind of proud of what he's done. And so
he's Adolph Reed getting interviewed in the New York Times recently, where he's like, oh, I don't want the New Yorker, like any of those magazines interviewing me. And then still is like, my new book though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's that whole thing about like, oh, when they're talking about Marlowe and they're talking about, oh, well, at least you got the art out there.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so key to like, because again, going back to the fact that their safety altogether means secrecy, which means that you can't do that. But obviously anyone that creates, almost anyone, I should say, wants to share it in some capacity, but knowing that they can't and that's more important than the art means it's sort of like, well, yeah, like he's not a dummy. He's got nothing to do all day but sit around, brood, and create. So obviously he's gonna figure it the fuck out. But like by the same token, even when he does, he's like, but it's not like.
I also really like the idea that Christopher Marlowe is still like really angry at Shakespeare, like seven
after like multiple centuries, like that fucking dick. Which as this goes to show you, I don't feel bad about the grudges I keep.
Stuck in like, I feel like you would though, because you'd be stuck in this shitty ass cycle where like one day is forever, and you'd be like, no, I'm still pissed at that asshole. Like,
but I love that he calls him a Philistine zombie.
Like
number one, he calls him like a Philistine zombie, and number two, I think it's really fucking hilarious that like I'd assume that he was kind of the Ian character, right? Like. He was kind of the one that was helping out Marlowe.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Like, so that relationship, but in like 1700s, right, or whatever, whenever that guy was writing.
It's like the 1600s. It's a really long time. Like, it's a really, really long. Yeah.
I need to be I need to be very clear. I don't care about the answer to that question, but that's
no. What I'm just saying, like the amount of centuries that it is, like because that's like a bit like it's just
it's a grind. It's old school beef, and that's all you need to know, and it's very well depicted.
And even though Shakespeare's been dead for that long too, like Shakespeare's been dead for so fucking long, and he's still throwing the fucking thing at the dartboard, being like,
still pissed about it, like that hack.
And that's another trope that Jarmusch kept. Was like they need a familiar.
Yeah.
Like they need to have a person still. They still need to rely on a human for basic needs. They still need to have one.
But I think I'm glad we are getting to the music piece of it. I think the music here is so intrinsic and key. And did you have that clip you want to play for us?
Yeah, I got it.
But like I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Did you play music on the set?
We didn't play music on the set while working, but we did circulate a kind of mixed tape to the cast and crew. Well, yeah, the music's very, very important. First, the centerpiece of the music is Josef van Vissem, who is a composer, a lutenist, a guitar player, avant-garde composer, a historian of certain types of music, particularly the history of music for the lute. But he's also has a avant-garde and rock and roll side. There's a lot of things inside him. So he's our center for the music. And then Carter Logan and myself and Shane Stoneback, we have a band called Squirrel. We then collaborated with Josef or added things to the music. So we kind of co-created some of it, him being the leader of this. And then we also have the amazing original song of Yasmin Hamdan, who is someone I have incredible admiration. I've been a fan of her music. I saw her perform some years ago in Morocco, and I just couldn't believe this amazing creature, this musician. So we have those things in the film, and then some music that pre-existed. Particularly, we love Denise LaSalle's R&B track, Trapped by This Thing Called Love, that they dance to as a kind of reconciliation at a point in the film. But yeah, I don't know. Music's always very, very important to me, and it's very important in this film. And of course, yeah, we have the opening track too, Funnel of Love by Wanda Jackson, that we did a kind of remix of that. So we changed it quite a bit, but kept some of the original tracks in there as well.
Question over there, then gentlemen.
But also, one of the main characters is a musician, so there's a lot of things about music in the film.
Hi, Brian Johnson from Maclean's magazine in Canada. Speaking of musicians, I've always assumed that David Bowie was a vampire, and until you did that wonderful video with David Bowie recently, and I don't know which came first, this movie or that, but I'm wondering if one might have informed the other, and I just want to know what your particular views are on the meaning, the beauty, the mystique of what's your connection to vampires.
Well, it feels like it's hard to know when things happen and what predates what, really. Sometimes it feels like everything's happening at the same time. In kind of real dog years, we made this film last year, and Bowie and I made that film with Floria Sigismondi earlier this one. So, yeah. But I always feel like we made that Bowie video about 10 years ago somehow. I don't know.
There you go. I totally want to hang out with Tilda Swinton, by the way. Anyway,
so do I. I know she's such a badass.
Okay. Yeah.
I
don't care what we're doing. Like we could be at an airport or something. Like I don't care.
Like, it's like Tilda is just like, she is to me like she is the otherworldly fucking creature. Like she's something else. Well,
and I think that speaking to that clip, like, the thoughtfulness that he has behind it. I mean, that's Jim Jarmusch as a rock and roll guy, right? Which like he is fundamentally like a director, but like he's a guy that thinks very much about the music. The music is always so intrinsic in his films, even when it's like musicians playing. I mean, the first drummer for Sonic Youth is like one of the leads in his first movie.
Yeah.
And he's actually a better actor than he's a drummer, frankly. But that was early Sonic Youth. Richard Dudson, love you coming on the show. But like, think about the Memphis movie, the Japanese kids going to go
Mystery Train.
Mystery Train, yeah. Think about Mystery Train, right? That like you have these like kids from another country going as pilgrimage to like the heart of rock and roll, and like you get to hear like everything diegetically in the movie, like like the radio announcer and things along those lines. Everything is just like a fully realized world where the music fits very nicely into it, and like the choice of what they dance to when they throw the 7-inch record on, versus like what is White Hills is playing, what song are they playing, why are they playing it, when are they playing it, et cetera, et cetera. It's all very, very much thought out. And as we talked about earlier,
and Adam doesn't use one streaming service. There's
that one
he's making do without it.
No, he's buying all his music like a good music fan should.
He maintains a library that may be on a computer, but it doesn't even have a Wi-Fi connection. This is like totally air gapped. But like so again, it harkens back to the earlier point of, and I want to hear what everyone else say also, but it harkens back to the earlier point that like when you hear like the song that we do here that's attributed to Adam, actually seems like a song people are like, whoa, what is this? This is awesome. Like, I need to know more about it. Whereas as a conceit for a plot, usually doesn't work. So I'm like, that sounds like dog shit and nobody would care about that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not, I mean, it's not really essential to things, right? Like you hear the song kind of in the background, he's kind of playing it himself. and then it kind of gets played later, and like, oh man, isn't that your song? Like you're kind of, you know, but like it never, like I can't take that song necessarily and remember exactly what it sounded like, right? And I think that when that happens in the movie and there's like a very catchy song and you're like, oh shit, like then it's like, oh well, obviously that's not their, like, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of meant to remember it. And this, it almost feels like they're listening to a song that you're not necessarily meant to remember. It's just that the music is so interesting because it's it
draws you in. It draws you in. So I think of a band like Godspeed You Black Emperor or something.
Yeah,
it's like hey, what's their hit? Oh, well, they don't fucking have one because their songs are like 20 minutes long and it takes like 2 minutes for anything to happen. But like it's a ride you want to take on. Anyway,
Renee, it's like in this film, it's like it's an energy. It's its own energy force that like kind of is in the background, kind of vibrating around.
It's a vibe, you know.
Let's think of how he characterized it. Funeral music, right? He characterized it as funeral, like he's thinking about like, you know, like requiem for humanity and everything that he loves.
Yeah.
But like, but he's like, oh, but even that can't really, you know, we didn't really want people to vibe with it. You're not supposed to vibe with it. This is supposed to be a requiem.
Yeah, you're not meant to vibe. It's like when he says that he wrote the last.
The Chopin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
So the very last one, he gave it to him,
and he throws out. Well, I didn't give him the whole thing, you know. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I needed to get out somehow." Like, you know, I'm not trying to be like.
Which is why I say, like with Ian, like that's why he's so like he just lets it go, even though he knows it's Ian who's telling people where he lives. He knows it's Ian giving out his records. Like he knows it. But
which is the same thing that Ian's kind of doing. I mean, Ian is like this person that kind of has a connection to all these different things, whether it's, you know, going to a, you know, like the warehouse sale or whatever, or whether it's kind of having the cut versions of his music. Like he's just kind of someone that, and like, I don't know. I know people like this that are like, they kind of have connections to like some weird shit. They're like, hey, would you want to buy this thing? And it's like, no, I don't. Don't ever ask me again. But like, you know, you're the person that would have something fucking weird that you're like trying to sell to everybody else.
Yeah.
So this guy, he's like in the underground music club being like, hey man, like I got these.
You want Madonna's pap smear?
Yeah.
Yo, also, you want some
like funeral music? Yo.
Yeah.
I also something that I really love in that scene is that it's kind of clear in that scene that Adam has like the almost like lightning fast like martial arts kind of power,
but it's one of the only times you see it.
Yeah,
right?
You don't see it. Besides that, like, really, like
there was one other time in the movie where they used the speed, but
well, that's why I was like said one of the only times. Just
all right. Well, but I'm saying like you know because the first
human like in like a human situation, but then because you're kind of wondering like obviously he's this creative musical guy, but what's his like superpower? Because we know Eve can touch anything and tell you exactly when it was made, who by, what happened, blah blah.
Right.
So you kind of there's still supernatural powers. Like that's another trope that still exists in this world. Like yes, they do, but we don't know what Adams is yet. It's like we know he's this amazing creative, but you kind of forget. Oh yeah, they are not human. And there's that aspect.
Yeah,
and then,
but they're also
he does this little Matrix thing. It's like awesome, and Adam's like, whoa, like you know.
It's like, but it's the black and white thing again too, because it's the black and white thing because on one hand they have this superpower, like you know, assumably, but on the other hand, like if they get the wrong blood, they die. So it's like they're both extremely weak vampire, like you know, a weak example of a vampire, and also incredibly strong, which you know. Otherwise, you're just kind of like sitting around being like aged for the rest of your existence.
Yeah,
basically fucking JFK, like
it's
with
like he's
Addison's
been so
disease.
civilized that he's never had to really use it. So it's like he's you know, but he's still got it. You know, it's like he's like, don't fuck with my. You know, he's like, and that's another thing where he clearly shows empathy and love for Ian, because
it's protection. He's not only protecting them from the world at large, but he's protecting him from going down a road that human curiosity is not going to let him shy away from.
Yeah.
So like
he's like, yeah, I want to take a drink of this this. Give it to me. It's like, you can't.
Yeah, of course not. Like, hot chick pulls out a flask, takes a pull from it. Other hot chick, like, drink it. Like, yeah, let's have some of that. Like, I'm in. Whatever's happening, I'm in. Let's go.
And she's also, I mean, she's doing the thing that kids always do, where they kind of test the waters over and over and over and over, and it's like, oh yeah, try to have a little bit of this. This, like, dude, you know what blood did? Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's kind of had a cut or something on their hand and been like tried, you know what I mean? Like, at least they did something like that. Like, you know what that's gonna taste like. It's gonna, taste delicious.
But I think, like, obviously, we don't. Yeah, it does. It's fucked up that it tastes good. I know. I was a kid when I was a kid. Like oh, I've got a cut.
Forrest eating nickels.
It
tastes like loonies. No.
Yeah, but the but yeah, like, it's him. He does. He has that.
It tastes like insert Australian
currency. Yeah, no, insert Australian coin. So I have one more clip, and then we go to the letterbox one-liners. This is for Andy. Andy, we got a
long-suffering Andy down there who's
not being fed.
He's getting railroaded by us rock and rollers right now. So.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Well, we got to call in. This is a shout out that goes to Andy. A request.
Long distance dedication to J. Andrew World. The J stands for justice.
But this film, I'm just curious, was really lit. I mean, it was lit so beautifully. And so I'm wondering how fast or how slow you worked.
Well, it's the first time I worked with digital photography, and we used this camera, the Alexis, which is, I don't like digital for several reasons. I don't like the depth of field that's very deep. I don't like exterior daylight and skin tones. Looks very not appealing to me. And these weren't problems because the exterior daylight shots, and we're shooting interiors with very low light. We were lighting these scenes with light bulbs and these little LED squares, and very, very minimal. So we didn't have that depth of field problem either. So the photography, I find it really beautiful.
Beautiful.
Lit very delicately because it's very small lamps and not a lot of big stuff, so.
Okay, we're going to open this up.
Open this pit up.
I was just gonna make the same joke. God damn it! Because she also comes to me like, "Well, this is also so lit," and it was like, and she ended with "open this pit up." I'm like, it's like you're trying to distract me from everything in the middle of that sentence.
Hey, everybody! Yeah, let's open this pit up. This shit is lit as fuck.
It's a perfectly nice film Q&A, and then suddenly a mosh pit breaks out. Great.
That would be fantastic. I would watch that. I'd probably pay to watch that.
Anyway,
stuffy journalists
Oh god, yeah. With their with their lanyards flying around as they
yeah, fucking beige, all wearing beige and shit.
I feel like
to be fair, it's the Lincoln Center, I think, and they had Chapel Trap House there. Not that one, but I mean when they had the fucking Starship Troopers, they had them, coming in, and they were
No pit though. I feel like these scenarios we come up with on this show would be great vignettes.
It was so good. It just leaned right in there. I had to do it.
Yeah.
I think we need a pit if Ben Burgess ever does a live show. Get a pit for that.
Yeah.
Get this pit going for Ben Burgess, everybody.
Let's get philosophical.
Okay, so real point of order. Real vampire Jim Jarmusch there talking about the lighting and how he wanted.
Exactly. I don't like skin tones. Come on, vampire.
Of course he doesn't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, specifically with digital, like he was talking about, like if you watch a lot of these movies, that have come out in the past 20 years, a lot of them have been shot digital, and a lot of them look like crap. And this movie does not look like crap. There's a very
much doesn't. This is a
that's a review. This movie does not look like crap. Just this Andrew World.
The bit where just in that clip, the woman is saying, you know, how long did this take, like type thing with the shots. And yeah, when they do those slow, really slow zoom in shots of them like lying together and doing the puzzle piece things, like it's just so beautiful. You're like taken away for a minute because it's like this whimsical looking thing that's different.
By the way, I really hate to say this, but like they had like a very similar body. Like the same, I mean, it's the same skin tone, but it's also like it's just a strangely similar.
Tilda and Tom do, yeah.
Well,
that's kind of cool because it's like they're sort of this like rat king of like hanging out.
I agree. It's just funny that like I don't know. It's just funny. It was very funny to me seeing that. I mean, fuck, they kind of have a similar like because I think Tom Hiddleston is a little bit androgynous, and Tilda Swinton's definitely very androgynous. They kind of pick two actors that kind of have this like. It almost doesn't really matter. I mean, you know, I guess it's a woke movie. It doesn't really matter the gender, but like they kind of have a similar body type. Two twinks lined up in a pretzel.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
It is kind of like, I mean, well, he's like the poster boy for, you know, for the whole goth like vampiric thing. Like he's perfect. Like he's been picked perfectly. And also the rock star as well. Tall, skinny, like lanky dude who's all broody and blue. It's like, so he's like kind of like the perfect choice, really. And then,
I mean, something about it almost reminded me of like Sid and Nancy in some ways. Like the not
it is,
like, the vicious, like
like as a female, I'm also, I mean, obviously that's a part of Tilda's charm and energy as well. But as a woman, I'm like, love them. But like, I'm like, ooh, I'm attracted here, but there's something about Tilda that kind of brings you over. You know, you're like, oh, I'm going to go over that side now as well. Like, because you're like she's just so cool, and like there's this energy about her that's incredibly like attractive and like very seductive. So.
Yeah, and then almost doesn't. I mean, you know, it's not even like almost like a masculinity and femininity thing. It's like there's this kind of interesting dynamic between the two of them, right? Where it's like he's incredibly existential and like worried about things and anxious, and she's, you know, a lot calmer. And it's like their relationship works. Like their relationship 100% works, as in like, you know, when they say at the end of the movie, they're like, you know, you could be on the opposite sides of the universe. These particles will still vibrate together. It works in that way. And I think that that's something that kind of, I think that exists in relationships outside of gender. I think that exists outside of these kind of almost concepts that we like, these gender roles that we kind of put onto ourselves as.
But it's also interesting.
Like, yeah.
There's which I find is so amazing, and like that is like it's so interesting. And but then you have the opposite side of the coin, where they still get married every century or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they've been married 3 times, so they're still engaged.
Happens at every one of their weddings.
Yeah.
Too many. Like, they ask me to buy a present every single time, and I'm like, dude, you guys, you know, you want a you know, a $5,000 work of art, and I don't have that every century.
Yeah. How many blenders y'all need?
No,
first of all, how dare you?
Yeah. No, there's just something fascinating that, like, I think when we look at relationships and like when we look at something like that, right? And in the same way that like particles kind of almost vibrating, and like kind of these opposite things that aren't necessarily opposite things that apply to anything gender related, aren't necessarily these, but like you kind of have one person that's steady and one person that's incredibly tense, right? Like you can't have if you have two incredibly tense people that are like existentially freaking out, that's not a relationship that can work over the course of like a year, let alone you know,
great Netflix series, not so much a great reality, you know. Exactly.
Yeah. So if you have like two incredibly like tense and anxious, mentally ill kind of people at the same time,
both freaking out for you.
Yeah. But if you have one person that's kind of steady and they're sitting there and they're like, listen, you know, the future's coming. You have one person that's kind of attached to the past. It's like, you know, it works. And it's not even like necessarily opposites in the sense of like, well, every trait that I have, this person has the opposite trait, but it's like a steady, you know, thing. And then at the same time, on the opposite side of it, like someone who's vibrating and creative and really putting everything into things. And
she's like a very much like she's that eternal optimist who's like, she's finding like, you know, well, there's this and there's that, and let's dance, let's have a great time. Like this is how, you know, and then you've got him being like so caught up in everybody else's emotions and everybody else's drama, and he doesn't even.
She's a free spirit, I think. I mean, like, you know, she's free from, not free from caring about things. She loves him deeply. Like, she loves him, like, you know, probably more than you really like could even comprehend in this movie. But like, you know, there's someone who's kind of it's almost like terrestrial, right? Like, he's kind of looking at terrestrial things and being like, oh, well, human beings are draining the life out of this world, all this stuff. And she's like, listen, like, this is kind of almost like an emotional thing for me. Like, I'm above this. Like, I don't have those same concerns. So it's like it's a fascinating thing, because I don't like necessarily when they overplay something and it's like, oh, I'm this and the other person's the exact opposite. But it's more of like it's always universal. Yeah, it's like a universal.
But it shows you. It shows you. It doesn't tell you. And I think that's my problem with most quote unquote romantic comedies, is they're so busy telling you what you're supposed to feel that you don't actually feel anything. And not that this is a romantic comedy, let's be clear. But like that genre is rife with just like the tropes of it even are just like you're told how you should feel. And this is a good job of, again, laboriously and very patiently showing you what their relationship is like and why you should care. And to the point that like when you get to the end of it, you're like, all right, well, that sucks for them, but you know, okay, they're gonna turn these kids, and I guess that's a whole separate chapter. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they fall into the same thing that, you know, they're kind of upset at the sister for doing, which is, you know, kind of but at the same time, it's
being
not
impetuous, being
it's not the same base level of it. It's not the same like, oh well, they're like it's thought out, and they're like, well, I guess we have to do this. This is like morally speaking. And then, you know, I mean, he's still like they're justifying it in the sense of like, you know, Tom Wilson would be like, oh, I get the girl, like, which is like a funny, like, you know, because they're kind of planning it out between the two of them. But at the same time, it's like, this is what you guys did get angry at, you know, Ava for. And it's like, I understand.
It's okay when we do it. Yeah.
Because we talked it out. There's two of us. We talked it out. And now, you know, it's cool now.
Yeah, we sorted it. That's good.
But it's like, you know, they're clearly like, when she says, you know, this is so 1500s, like, it's like, you know, they haven't done this for a really long time. But there's almost like a fresh, almost like, well, there's an element of survival and keeping them.
There's no other options. Yeah, it's either that or just it's over, Johnny.
It's wither off. Like, so there's that. But then you also have like, there's almost, you know, they've just watched that performance, they're standing there, and there's almost a little bit of excitement. Like,
100%.
There's these two humans that are like so in love and seem almost pure and innocent and untouched, and that gives them a sense of hope. So instead of giving up, they go, well, let's go backwards and we're going to eat it, you know, we're going to do it. Like,
we're just gonna eat these, you know.
Like, we're just like, you know.
But it's okay because we're gonna turn them afterwards, so that makes it okay.
We're gonna turn them. We're gonna give them a reward, you know.
We'll buy them a nice dinner after we.
By the way, it's hard to watch that and not think about the. Hey, we saw you from across the bar, and I wanted to know if you wanted to drink.
Yeah. But I love that nervousness between Adam and Eve, like walking there and being all like whisper and like. like they really like it's like they have not done this for so long,
but then the last 2 seconds, like they're like, oh yeah, they're vampires, I forgot.
It's the first but it's really the first like full moment where you see all the fangs out,
and it's like not even, it's like 2 seconds even, right? Like, and he specifically doesn't elongate the shot. Like, I know directors who should not be named would like freeze frame on that or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but it's so quick.
Yeah, like, y'all are probably wondering how we got here. Well,
yeah, he's like record scratch.
But Conan, I played there for Andy, and we've eaten up Andy's time. We have not let him.
Yeah, we gotta
just like that poor couple at the end. We ate it up. Yeah,
Andy, exactly. do you have your own? Yeah.
Anyway, that's our show for today. No.
Sorry, I'm just like, Andy's just like amazing. He seems like our moderator tonight. He's like,
I was just chilling.
Nice
except for the terrible jokes. Let's not redact history, but go ahead.
Yeah.
A couple of them are good though.
The Tilda Swinton, my favorite Bowie period. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's solid.
Anyways, I was just about the lighting. The use of warm colors too, because usually like vampire movies they want to usually paint the world cool in cool colors, and then bathe you with the warm bloods and kind of hit you over the head. And I think Francis Ford Coppola did a lot of that in his Dracula movie, which is stunning to look at. And this movie is a very it's a very different kind of thing where like the warmth comes from the humanity of these characters, and that's shown through like not your typical like Tilda Swinton's in like a warm yellow, so she
as she always is.
Yeah, but I mean, it works too. Like it was almost like that was the thing, and like he was still in like the darker colors and the blues, like the cool colors, but he was also surrounded with lots of warm colors. So it was a very like inverted kind of visuals that you get from like vampires.
It's gorgeous, and it's also just a gorgeous movie when they're going through like the city of Detroit, which is somewhere that's been decimated by like industrial.
And it's just like the American Twilight music video from Crime of the City Solution, which is literally just them driving around Detroit and showing the decimation of it. Which if you haven't seen it, check it out. You'll see the parallels.
Watch that.
Yeah. As soon as it's done, just go to YouTube, check it out,
cue it up.
And I mean, it's Crime of the City Solution. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, you're doing okay already.
Yeah.
But like, I want to be the one person. I want to mention that Detroit, as much as it is like devastation and ruin, and that's very well articulated within the film. There are also incredible pockets of like growth and amazing things that are happening.
Yeah, after you finish the Crime the City Solution video, there's a great episode of Art 21 about Detroit and how artists are coming in.
Oh, cool!
And breathing in new life. And I actually got to meet one of the artists in that episode, which was very exciting a few years ago. So
yeah, I mean, it's been interesting to, and I guess I'm just hijacking your shit again. Sorry, but like the last 10 years, like 15 years of like playing Detroit and like seeing it kind of like go through this regrowth period where you have people that have lived there the whole life that are like basically reclaiming their city from like this rotten malfeasance and outside actions that basically have, and it's a separate show to talk about this, like bankrupted that city in more ways than one. And to see like these pockets of like amazing things happen, it's like seeing like a post-apocalyptic area, or if you ever seen a volcano where it's just devastation, you see like a flower coming up out of like the lava. It's something like that. It really is incredible. And I think that people that take it upon, oh, of course you're showing like the white vampire living in Detroit, interesting how there's only one black character, are missing the point. Because when
fuck those people.
When you're thinking about the character of Adam and you're thinking about like what he wants, he's an optimist ultimately. Like he's an optimist that is constantly let down. And
that's why he's so bummed all the time.
Right, but Detroit's the perfect place for that because it's like I would love to believe in something. Let's see if we can freaking land it, right? And like
that scene theater was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Where he gives like the history behind the theater that's now being used as a parking garage, and
beautiful it is, like just
which is real. That isn't a story. That's a real place, and I think it's astounding that you get to see that, and you get to see the characters get what they get out of it as well. And it's amazing because there is so much regrowth through Detroit, which is a beautiful city that has been just done. I would say done the most wrong, but then there's Flint, Michigan, and that's a very different show. But
that's why Vampire Obama drank the water, on stage. Now look, all right, this is contaminated.
Turns out I just drank some poison. I'm going to go
thank God, I'm a vampire.
Anyway, I hijacked your shit, Justice Andrew World. Please accept my apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't even know where I'm at anymore. So with my thoughts,
you were talking about the warm lights, colors, the lighting, and
and which because most vampire movies have the cool backgrounds. And then, for instance, Bram Stoker Dracula, the stark red of
it looks different. It looks so
different. And it's almost kind of inverted in a way because everything around Adam is warm, not bright, not necessarily, but warm.
Dull kind of warm, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a warmth that you don't normally see in vampire films, and he is the contrast of being a bit of cold.
No candles either. No,
no.
Like it's just like all these warm, beautiful, like lamps and things. Like really,
it seems like in some ways the warmest character in some, like when she finally shows up, is Ava, right? Like she's not just with color, but like with just the emotion that she brings to things, right? Like the excitement that she brings to things. I mean, one of the funniest things is when he's like, yeah, like this, and she's like, out. Like there's this ramping up almost of this like excitement, and that that's not necessarily like a positive thing, because you like I could tell what was about to happen from a mile away when she finally did.
Oh yeah, that
but
it's going to head, for sure.
But I love there is when her head falls back when she's after she has it. That's a beautifully shot scene.
But she's not evil, right? Like she's not like there's no like it doesn't feel like there's anything malicious about what she did. There is something.
She's generally just like
toxic about her, but she's not.
She's just being herself, like what she. Yeah, she's just that's the thing. She's young and like fresh, and she's just being herself. Doesn't
everyone's a zombie in LA anyway, so no, but there's like this, but I don't know. It feels like there's this energy that she brings to it, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But
she shows up like an hour in, by the way. Like I mean, it's like already like an hour into the film when like Mia shows up, and you're like, oh, okay, there's this character. At first, like, oh, it's Scrappy Doo, and it's like, oh no, it's more than that, right? But like. Or at least that's what I thought when I saw it.
But it's kind of.
I mean, I felt like, I mean, you kind of have
that they need. Like she's this interruption that comes in, and from there everything pings in different directions, and that's what causes all these, all the next moments. So if she didn't turn up, they probably just would have been,
like, she can turn up.
It's like, that's what
Mia Wasikowska turned it up for sure. By the way, what a great run for her.
Little bit of petrol just thrown on the fire there, like to,
I mean, she had like around like the same couple years she did this movie, she did Double, and she did Stoker, which is honestly one of my favorite Park Chan-wook movies, which I know is heresy when that's the guy that did Old Boy, but like I think that movie's wild underrated. And like she went from someone that like I don't know who that is to like, oh, I know who that is, and she's awesome.
One last thing, I guess, before the one-liners, really fast. I think that she's kind of almost the opposite of Ian, which is interesting in this movie, like because he's kind of fascinated by the fact that he doesn't really know anything about Adam and Eve, like especially I mean because he's never met Eve before, but like he doesn't know anything about the Adam character. Like he's just kind of this mysterious person that's kind of hanging out in the shadows, and he's like, oh well, you want another bullet? I got you a bullet. But like it's like there's no.
You want some vintage guitars? Yeah. You want some like oblique?
Like what's going on with your power and stuff? Do you want me to get someone to come and fix this or do that?
Yeah, like this is like it's a fire hazard.
and then it seems like Ava shows up and realizes like, no, this is like you guys are fucking boring. Like you don't even leave the house. So on one hand, it's like this one character that's like, oh, this guy's fascinating. Like his music's so good. He doesn't leave the house. And then Ava's version of that is like, no, this is boring as fuck. This guy does not leave the fucking house. Like he's just been doing this for fucking
forever. Yeah, like come on. Yeah, definitely. And even the scene, I found it. Because that guy, Ian. Like I said, to my other housemate, I was like, "This is my mate. This is this guy Ben. That we know." And I was like, "That's him." You can feel it, the awkwardness, the fucking.
He's the guy who's at the party on the love seat, like slowly drinking a PBR, and be like, he's stoked to be there, but he doesn't really have anything to interject.
Yeah,
like, he's like the best dude.
Yeah, the same.
And then suddenly he's like, "Hey, you guys want to try ketamine?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Like, why not?
I have no funny of
his interaction with Ava. Like, he's like never been laid, and that he's like, ooh, like he's like all
virgin blood.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
by the way, there's a third sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show where they need somebody like that. the Frankenfurter character comes back from the dead for whatever reason, needs somebody with that virgin blood, and then it turns out the person's not actually a virgin, they're contaminated, and he gets poisoned by it. That's like they didn't make that movie, but there is a script where it's a very similar thing, where he drinks the blood of a contaminated person and dies.
Well, because I think like he's contaminated in,
he's in the music industry,
Yeah, but music, but also like he drinks, he whatever, and he's ethically as well, like he's he's so I assume there's kind of that like subtle notion that it's not just what you put in yourself, but it's also your personality and you as well that contaminates the blood. So if you're a bad person or you're like and so he had his little some bad ethics there, but he also was a really good dude, which is why
you can imagine he reconciles in his mind of like, this music is so good the world deserves to hear it. He deserves to get some recognition even if he doesn't want it. So like he probably has his own internal dialogue for that. I mean, he's certainly not just trying to profiteer off it or something.
No,
I don't think he was doing that whatsoever. I just think it's also this kind of recognition that
idolizes it almost. He's like, and then when he says they're going out, he's like it's the most exciting thing ever. He gets to go out. And like,
really? Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're coming out.
And even the guy that he's selling that record to turns around and he recognizes Adam. So it's like, Ian, what have you been doing? Like he's fully like, so he's clearly said like that's him, like or like whatever it might be or something. That's
I think everybody knows that kind of person and that kind of feeling, right? Like where it's not like, I don't think that it's like, oh, I can make this money off of it. I think it's like
no, he actually
met the coolest person that I've ever met in my life, and like I'm the guy that's gonna bring this cool person's music to like a big crowd of people, and they're like, holy shit, like this is crazy music.
He wants to be like him. It's like, where did you get the gloves? Like, oh, like what about? He's trying to be cool and like fit in with them. He wants to be Adam's best mate. Like he does, like really bad, desperately.
And he suffers for it. Anyway, Letterboxd one-liners. We gotta,
Yes, Forrest. Thank you very much. So, Letterboxd. Bottom Up Democracy, the only social media site that matters. Place for lovers of film where people can talk at, with, and to each other about movies they love, movies that they don't love, have observations, funny, pithy, oblique conversation starters, etc., etc. Every time we have one of these films on this show, I painstakingly curate a series of reviews that I find to be interesting for the show for us to talk about, talk over, and also laugh at and potentially goof on, that's what this bit is, which is Letterboxd one-liners, movie night extravaganza, movieNightExtravaganza.com. Let's go. Imagine being in a three-way with Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston. I know I am after seeing this.
The extra
I would. I'm down. I mean, didn't I say my direct quote from me was like, I'd bone.
That's Jason Fuster, by the way, who's I don't normally pick people that I am familiar with or friends with on the for the Letterboxd reviews, but he has a really good channel and he's a very funny guy.
I also like that Tom Hiddleston looks vaguely suspicious with this.
Yeah, he's like,
I know that's crazy. It's like really. That's Jason's Fun Time Movie Party is his Instagram. I'm not going to bother looking up anything else. Anyway, are they vampires or simply introverts who are really into rock music? I really can't tell.
Are we human or are we dancers? Anyway,
it's a main Leo with that one.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure she'll be very famous. God, I hope not. She's way too good for that.
There is kind of you like. I think everyone that's really
Nicolas Cage's, that photo from Con Air. I love it.
There's something deeply uncool about being obsessed with fame, right? Like it's like nobody wants, like, if you really want to appear to be aloof and cool, like, you don't want to be famous. You want to fucking get on that.
You're
And, like,
not like, I want to be a big star.
yeah. So there's throughout this movie, it kind of has that point, and I like that a lot about it. Like he's like, oh my god, I hope no one fucking hears my music. It's fucking embarrassing. And then people are hearing it, and he's like, oh man, everyone's hearing my music. Oh no.
That's Groove Man with the truth bombs there. Tom Hiddleston is not only a vampire, but a one-man doom band. And if that's not cool, then fuck you. Rob Landers with the truth there. And like that goes back to what we were saying.
Loudest.
Yeah, I mean that goes back to what we were saying though, right? Like about like the music having like, you know, a hook to it that's it was dark and it had a hook to it and it worked.
Yeah.
As narrative function. Anyway.
But I also just like the fact that the guy, you know, that they've hired that plays the lute, like, and fucking Jim Jarmusch is like the loudest, a world's famous loudest. He's like, who the fuck has ever said it like that?
Yeah, as if that's a word that everybody knows and hears all the time. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I forgot to mention it before. A side bit is when I was organizing that for Joseph, the lute gets its own seat on the plane.
Well, why would the lute have to share a seat with somebody? That's
they're very, very old.
Wow, that's up there with nobody at the venue can look Danzig in the eye as far as the bands that I like.
But I'm saying, like, I wouldn't, if I was a world famous loudest, I wouldn't want my lute to share a seat with somebody. I'd want it, you know, you have it in his own seat.
Right next to him. He needs it in the seat next to him.
No. Yo-Yo Ma lost his cello once flying, which is like the first time I ever heard of Yo-Yo Ma. I was like 13 or 14, and I thought it was a rapper. And I'm like, yo, this rapper plays the cello? That's so cool. But
you thought it was a rapper? That's amazing.
The first time I ever heard of Yo-Yo Ma, I was walking through New York City on a construction site, and I hear someone just go, "Yo, Ma."
There you go.
Cat calling.
Can I just say that that's why my instruments are made of aluminum, which is the same thing that the aircraft is made out of, so I don't mind checking them.
Hey,
Thank you.
Can your instruments play? Can they melt steel beams?
That's a different show, my friend. Next. Amazing how this film captures the ennui and joylessness of living in an age where everything, art, culture, knowledge, is so easily accessible, but a sense of value and connection has become so difficult to experience.
Okay, Adam.
No, but for real, right? I mean, I think that was a great observation.
He's right, but you know, he is also Adam.
He's also, it's not lost on me.
He's right, but he's Adam.
He's
Adam
right,
is on point.
but he's also Adam. Where did they source the bathrobes for this film?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
You're talking about it now, though, aren't you? Chloe Wood's got you thinking.
Probably, I'd say that they are probably from England. Would be my guess.
Are they artisanal? Are they single sourced? Were they sustainably farmed?
Yes, at the bathroom farm, you know, down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a drop of blood in the bathrobe. Now I'm completely distracted.
Cool Kids Antique Roadshow.
Look what Ian's going through every fucking day of his life. Fucking Ian.
By the way, like, real talk, like, that would be the best job, by the way. Find, like, cool vintage guitars and amps and stuff for some, like, eccentric, apparently millionaire who gives you, like, gigantic wads of cash. Great. Yeah. I'm in.
I mean, you know, it's probably better that he's a vampire than he is, like, a pedophile. Because there's really two jobs you can really have with that level of, you know, I'm in this weird house. Find me some fucking random fucking.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where you're going with that, and I figured it out eventually.
Jeffrey Epstein, more like over there.
No, Tom Hiddleston, vampire. What's next, Molly?
Yeah, I really like how sarcastic that is because, like,
Molly,
you know, how many roles is how many 3 stars? How many roles is Tom Hiddleston gonna really play? Like, oh wow, he's pale again.
Has anybody heard of conditioner in this movie?
No. Fuck off, Nate.
I like the hair. I like the hair.
Conditioner has garlic in it, so you know you can't just.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they use dry shampoo, obviously. Vampires don't have time to wash their hair every fucking day.
They're real busy.
Broken.
Every day for hundreds of years. Fuck off.
That sounds exhausting. The books in the fridge was a nice touch.
Yeah, no, it really was though. Cause when I was putting these things together last night, like the graphics, I was like, no, that actually is true because it's basically a decanter, like.
Yeah. You're preserving your books.
No, and 32 degrees Celsius is certainly the right temperature to read a book at.
Just like the right temperature to watch a movie at is letterbox.com, everybody. Letterbox, a place for film. Follow the show, Movie Night Extravaganza. That's Forrest over there. I, of course, am Conan Neutron. Renee Ruin's on there as well. Wait, I can't point at her. So let's make her post more. And, of course, the mighty Justice Andrew World as well.
Tilda Swinton, everybody.
Follow him as well. Letterbox, place for film, Movie Night Extravaganza, Justice Andrew World. I yield my time to you.
Yes, if you're watching us right now on the illustrious, what are we on?
Twitch.
Can I impeach him? No, anyway.
You're willing to do his bit.
No, Twitch just
totally not.
So if you're watching us right now on Twitch, you're probably wondering why.
Apparently, we gained a person watching.
I wonder that all the time, and I'm on this Fakakta show.
Okay, let's try this again here. If you're watching us on Twitch, make sure that you like, subscribe. Subscribing really does help us out. If you are an Amazon Prime member, you can subscribe to us for free, and that's good. That's good. Watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. But please, everybody, check out our Patreon. Our Patreon is also a great way to support us, so we can keep on making these movies and questioning why we are doing this.
Yes.
Railroading Andrew so badly.
Thank you.
I need to reference though the fact that in this movie twice they have I found it on YouTube joke where she's watching the fucking French fucking
the French Dracula song, right? Yeah,
and she's like
hanging out.
I found it on YouTube.
But he found it on
Movie Night Extravaganza. If you can find it on YouTube, you know what? One day a vampire's gonna be watching it.
Yes. We should clip that as an advertisement. But she finds it on YouTube on his what is it, like NES, like that's like connected over to like a freaking squirrel running around in it's just like, and it's amazing.
Which is really funny because a couple days ago when I was talking to Bester about coming on, and I sent him the picture of my VCR because I had the Death to Smoochie somewhere. I have the Death to Smoochie VHS, exactly. And I was like, see, I still have the VCR. And I don't know. I felt like in this movie, he has everything kind of connected to it. Like, yeah, that's my room.
Dude, Adam would have like the Brazil Criterion Collection on VHS, 100%. Like, I mean, like that's that guy that like, oh wow, you have all of The Prisoner on the original VHS. Great.
Yeah, I reckon he'd also have like Beta. Like he'd be that.
He would not only have VHS and Betamax, he would have thoughts on the relative intricacies of like box sets for both. Guaranteed. Yeah. 100% guaranteed. And I say that with love. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Tom Hiddleston come on the show.
No, and watching him set up.
That guy's a legit genius, by the way. Anyway,
I adore him. Loki,
it reminded me of a
Loki. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, Andy, let's transition to your final thoughts. And
no, watching that whole setup of the TV and everything like that reminded me of a art show I did a few years ago where we actually was running my artwork through old TVs and also projecting it on walls. It was a really cool thing. We had like a experimental.
We call those movies now. Sorry, I really sorry.
It was very much like this movie because we had a noise musician in the corner, with a synth, doing his thing. Different sound, but same vibe. And it was like,
and he ended up locking all the doors in the place, right? And then burning it down and killing Hitler. So,
no, actually, we got there was a big blizzard, and so nobody showed up, and we ended up just like pulling out like musical instruments and just like jamming until like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
I don't know what that has to do with the movie, but good job.
Were those your final thoughts, or was that
no? I actually
right.
my final thoughts.
Let's hear some final thoughts.
The total thing that I was vibing with the movie was the fact that art can be private, and it absolutely can be. When I show my artwork, I want the world to see it. When I'm not showing you my artwork, I don't want you to see it. And people need to learn that sometimes whenever I'm working. But also, it's just I would like whenever he says no, that's private. I never related to a movie so much in my life.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta have the private art. It's hard, right? You have to have some things for
I'm
consumption.
a private artist. Private for not
but
money.
but you gotta have some things for consumption, but you can't lose the spark because that's happened with me in editing. Like I lose the spark that actually makes me feel like I'm doing something that I want to be doing and something that kind of makes me feel creatively fulfilled. And once you kind of lose that, it's you can't get it back.
Yeah,
like
no. It's also like the process. Like when I'm painting, sometimes I don't want people to see what I'm painting. Right. And it was a really hard in college when I was taking a class for a professor who ran it like the old salons where you would sit there and critique with your professor every single
much like Adam's house in this movie, the old salons.
No, but it very much is a thing where like if I'm working on something, sometimes I don't want to be around people. I don't want people to see it. It really is something private. So
Yeah, no, I listen. I as someone that is creative, that isn't necessarily doing art the way that you are, but like is doing art myself. Like, yeah, like it is, and you need something. You need some things for yourself, and once you give too much away, you've given away like something inside of you,
and when it's finished, I can give it away. It's the process.
Who cares
of
about
doing
that point?
it.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's done. It's finished.
No, I'm not being funny. I mean, that's how I actually whatever. It's on the world now. It's everyone's.
Yeah.
And that's why I give it to Ian, and he gives it to everybody in the
right. Just give it to Ian; they'll sort it out.
Yeah, my Ian will take care of it.
John Ross is your Ian. Anyway, Renee, you got some final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. I mean, this movie is just a beautiful piece of work from start to finish, and it's like it is an amazing film that's about music, but it's also an amazing film, from the vampire gothic sort of point of view. And so, I mean, to me, this is just a great big, it is like a big boner fest. It's just perfect. It's like the movie for our like kind of people. I feel like it's like our vampire movie for like us. And I think it's just it's a great big ball of fun. You can't not get sucked.
Which, by the way,
in.
you call it a beautiful piece of work. There's a line that I actually was thinking about that I just remembered again once you said that, where Ava touches Tom Hiddleston's face and goes, "You look so beautiful," which is just like a perfect line of just like, because aesthetically, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of playing with that whole idea of like masculinity, femininity, like this, because these are both kind of androgynous artists, and to have her kind of like actually touch his face and be like,
so he does. Everything is so ethereal.
Yeah.
And then you've got the warmness as well, and you're constantly being drawn into who they are as who they were as humans, I guess, the soul and that energy of who they are. And I think that's a difficult thing in film to convey, and Jarmusch does it in such a subtle, very classy way.
You also have to trust, as the actor, I think you have to trust that the director is not mocking you, right? Like something like that happens, or you're kind of in this in this state of kind of
Michael Bay wouldn't be able to pull that off, right?
Yeah. you have to trust that there's like the director is looking out for your best interest and doing this kind of almost like androgynous like performance across the world, and you have to be like, listen, this is something that I do think that I have to put myself fully into.
you 100% get like, I mean, that everyone is invested in this. This is, you know, this is something that everyone has immersed themselves in, whether it's the musical side of it or the, you know, wherever it is in that creative field, everyone is like 100% in this. Like, you really, you know, you do get that vibe.
And then seeing at the end of it, you know, it feels like something that's so completed and so polished and so beautiful, right? But like, you also have to look at each piece of it and think like, no, this takes an enormous amount of trust. Like that, this is something that's really being planned out.
Even like there's so many bits in it, like, you know, like I said, with, you know, those beautiful shots with them. They're art. They really are art pieces. Those shots, like, and they did need trust. Like, you don't just sort of like. There's no hiding those bits there. They're not body doubles. They're not. That's the actors, you know, like 100% vulnerability on display. Like, and you know, that takes a world of trust for them, you know, like from a director to be able to go, I am going to give you that part of me for this art, like.
And giving, and he's kind of giving away parts of himself within that to also say like, these are going to be closed off. You know what I mean? Like within the story itself, these are moments that are closed off. You're having these moments that nobody else is seeing. Like even Ava, like her sister doesn't really see these moments. Like when she actually comes in and like just jumps on the bed or something like that. Like this is a moment that's being disturbed. You're watching this kind of almost like this you know, moment of time that they don't really get with each other get disturbed completely. It's almost like when you throw like a rock into a pond.
Yeah.
Which is that character in a nutshell too.
Yeah.
Because
so she's the rock especially skipping over the pond.
Yeah. You get drawn into this just amazing other world that really is their personal private moment.
Yeah. And you get these hints of other things that have happened throughout this time period that don't get explained. Like the fact that, you know, they're like, oh well, 87 years ago in Paris something happened, and you don't get that explained. They're like, oh well, you know, you have this gun. Is it because the other vampires are fucking with you? Like, are you getting bullied and thrown into a locker? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, so you have all these things that are kind of, you get all these things that are hinted at. As someone that wants to be a film director and like kind of that's been like, it's really hard not to over explain things. It's like, because I used to write all the time, like when I was younger. Like, it's really hard not to be like, it takes an enormous amount of confidence to like create a world and then not explain most of it. Be like, this is what you're seeing, and you don't get to see anything else. You don't like.
And that's why this film works.
Yeah,
it's why it works, because you're actually becoming immersed in their relationship, and you're like, nothing's being spelled out for you, but at the same time, it's like dangling these little things in front of you, alluring you towards this. And, you know, I think that is the magic, you know, of that's the magic of Jarmusch, in particularly in like with most of his films, but this film, I think he really, you know, went that extra, like, and which is probably why the film took so long to write, because like Forrest said before, like, to not over explain and to not is hard. And so, you know,
you have to really trust yourself not to do that. Like,
and you got to trust in the process that the final product is going to look.
Your loudest is going to be so good
that because you're saying you're not explaining any of this stuff, and so you need to trust that everything that you're seeing in your head is what the viewer is going to see and feel when it comes to life.
And when you put up a wall,
Jarmusch is great at. He's great at showing, and he from his very first film, he always has been great at showing you what's going on, and like not even with like any interest in over explaining, just like
which makes it really funny, because the cans and then I'll jump to you, Conan. The cans, you know, when we were watching that part of the dialogue with the actors. At the beginning of it, he's like, I'm not going to explain to you what the movie's about. So if you're going to ask me that, fuck off. Like, pretty much. And so everyone's like, well, I don't want to ask you what the movie's about, but, and like, you know, the question would have to be.
But let me ask you what the movie's about.
Let's try.
Like, that's Jarmusch in a nutshell. He's a punk rocker in that way. Right? He's like, I don't give a fuck if you like if you want that from me. I'm not going to give
it. Like, if you don't get it, you're not getting it. And I'm not going to give it to you. It's that kind of vibe, you know?
Exactly.
It's like when you like a particular artist or a particular musician, and you know, it's like when you're talking to someone and they go, oh, I don't like blah, and you're like, oh, you don't get it. You're never gonna get it.
You don't get it. You don't get my process.
You either get it or you don't. You can't explain. Some work is so great that it can't be explained.
See, my writing process is that I shoot myself repeatedly with a
wooden bullet in the heart. So, all right, so
Conan, let me hear your final thoughts. I want to hear your final thoughts.
So this is actually the perfect segue, because I think one of the coolest quotes in this movie is "How could you have lived so long and still not get it?" I think that's an incredible quote. And that tells you everything you know about both characters and their relationship to each other too. And it's great because this is a movie. Yeah, it's about like cool vampires and stuff, but like it's about love and disdain for society and for people. It's about boredom. It's
and
about
in some ways for each other, not each other, but like in some ways for, you know, I mean, I think Tilda Swinton's character is deeply in love with him, but also kind of like is like
they're living in different countries.
Like,
like at the time you're like, oh, are they estranged? Like, no, it's just vampire shit. It's the equivalent of them being in different rooms because they had a fight.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's vampire shit.
They've been together for so long. They need a little break every now and again, like to.
But that's their equivalent of it, right? And like, but it's also about, like I said, boredom, depression, which is very clear. You're the same kind of person you were before you became a vampire, and ennui. Like, yeah, you get all the time in the world to master your art, become a master of your craft, to create the most amazing things you ever thought possible, but you really can't share them with anyone, because if you do, not only will you expose yourself and in your own existence, it will negatively affect and potentially kill everyone else around you.
And the only way you get to explain it is through like this cipher, which I mean, I really like that Renee called like a familiar, which is like the term for like a witch. Like, so but if you find someone like Shakespeare, who, I mean, you know, assumably is like a relentless self-promoter, like, you know what I mean? Like, so you find this like imperfect vessel to put your work into for the rest of eternity. You're sitting there like with people being
and hoping it works out.
Yeah.
Right. And because like think of that prequel movie where it's like a young, you know, it's not gonna be John Hurt, but a John Hurt type, young John Hurt type with like this young Shakespeare type. And I guess it would have to be a dark comedy, right?
Because, no, it would be John Hurt. It would be John Hurt at that, because I don't think you age really. Like
exactly.
John
Okay.
Hurt's dead, so he can't play the part anymore.
Well,
that's
you kind of can. He's dead. I'm dead.
Well, anyway, we're burying the lead.
At least he's no longer hurt. Anyway,
but to have the idea that, like, you know, we talked earlier about like grievance being something that like
that's why I gave Tucker Carlson my script. Hopefully he reads my script and fills it with grievance.
It being something that, like, for him, it just happened, and he like, that dick, you know, that asshole, and it's like, buddy, that was over 300 years ago. But it's like he's still pissed about it, because of course he's pissed about it. They come out with like the Romeo and Juliet with was it chick from My So-Called Life, and the other one.
My script that I gave to Tucker Carlson was about M&Ms that are, you know, you want to have sex with them. But anyway,
fantastic.
It's the song "Sex and Candy."
So, but everything is on this incredibly long timeline, right? And that includes, like, you know, the nice moments as well as the awful moments. And so the Adam character, again, of course, I am literally the guy in the show with guitars on the wall behind me. Of course, I'm going to have some level of identification with this guy, right? But like the idea of you need to share it with somebody, but like you don't want to, like, you want to get it out there, but you want to get it out there in such a way that doesn't screw it up for everyone. And I think that that's such an interesting dichotomy, because it's so high stakes and played as low stakes. And I think that's one of the things that's very brilliant about this film. Also, the pace is ponderous. And that's intentional. Now, Jarmusch is known for doing this. Like this is like he's a Pace of a Glacier kind of director, right? But like it's so ponderous, and I think it's one of the reasons why is to give you the idea of like playing with the idea of time as they sort of see it, right?
Yeah.
That, like, you know, even when they're in a hurry, they're not really in that much of a hurry, frankly.
It's also I also think the vampires.
You know, like there's that scene where Adam's driving and the police car goes past and they're like, slow down type thing, and you're like, He's just kind of like, he's not even going that fast anyway.
Right. But he's exactly, he's driving like grandma speed, right? You know,
Yeah,
like over here used to be the such and
It's
such
like,
factory and this and that.
I also think that I think that it's important that vampires, I mean, they don't get the 24 hours, right? Like they, a lot of those hours, the sun is out. So you're kind of dealing with something where it's like, you know, a lot of people aren't out at night. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of dealing with like this low silence that kind of goes through everything and this darkness, and like they kind of have to hide away. And I really love the line where they're talking about Eva and he's like, what was she like hanging out in her coffin all day? Like, because it's like that is like the classic like you know, vampire
trope.
Yeah.
Well, and so last thing is that, like, obviously, you know, this is a low key, sexy, moody, melancholy movie.
Low key.
And that's fantastic. But there's so much at play here. It's almost too nuanced for a general audience. And again, knowing conceptually that it came out at a time that the idea of what it means to be a vampire was being aggressively redefined by mediocre movies that we shall not mention. And to have also a vampire that, like, you know, again, the fact that they're vampires is almost ancillary to the entire concept, but like is really into science as an achievement for like, here are the things that they did well, and is constantly disappointed at what humanity, or the zombies as he calls them, has done. It goes back to like, look, I put out a record this, you know, last week and a half, one of the songs called "The Misplaced Optimism of the Doomed," and that's exactly Adam. Like he's an optimist at heart, and like he's constantly heartbroken because it's like he wants it to be better, but like he's just like, it just isn't though. But the thing is, he doesn't stop trying with it, and he finds the joy where he can find it, like when they're just in that like and they see, I forget the artist's name, but like with he's singing, he's got the ebo, and he's like, this is a beautiful moment. And that goes back to like one of the best quotes of the movie. But like I think that it's the key to understanding who that dude is and how they relate to each other and how they're so deeply in love, but like again, still deeply in love, maybe in different countries, but then like maybe they're hanging out here for 10 years, and then like again, it's like being mad at someone and like you hang out in the other room. And this movie is brilliant because it does all
funny
4 or 5 of those.
Funny enough that she still has to take the plane. Like
she still has to take the plane, exactly. But it does like
he won't even leave the house, and the second she's like, boom, he's up, gone in the plane. See you later.
COVID. No.
it does like. So
last thing,
last piece of this is that like it does like 4 or 5 things really well, whereas most movies struggle to do one. And then also incredibly prescient because ostensibly, good Lord, aren't we all wearing our 300-year-old bathrobes right now?
Yeah.
Where'd you buy yours?
I had it made for me from the shake and
my actually I've got 2, but yeah, I've got another one. That's from Kmart, just for that chick, in case she's wondering.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to give you my final thoughts, which is, you know, as they say, you drank Ian.